We're live? Okay.
Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The mayor has called the special council meeting to order. Mayor Davey,
I am here.
Councilmember Laredo,
Here.
Councilmember London, Vice Mayor McCormick, Councilmember Moss,
Here.
Councilmember Petros, Councilmember Segurola.
Here.
We do have a quorum, Mayor. If we may please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item, Mayor, is brief comments by council.
Yes. Thank you all for coming tonight. And I want to address my reasons for calling this meeting concerning the Community Foundation. You know, one of the reasons I ran for mayor is because I saw what was being said and done from this dais under the previous council. The personal agendas that were getting in the way of our common agenda, the ambushes, the innuendo, and the mistruths that created unnecessary conflict and prevented this council from acting efficiently and effectively. I don't want my term as the mayor to be the same way. If you want my support for something, come with the facts. If you are intent on ambushing people, be it staff, a fellow council member, or a member of this community, don't expect me to be in your corner. We've had enough of that. The time is now to work together to get things done. If someone up here has the facts that show malfeasance or fiduciary neglect or negligence, by all means, please bring it forward. But be careful with your words. Words matter, and words have, of late, emboldened people who seek only to tear down and divide this community without offering a single well-thought-out solution to our challenges. We need to work together as a council to get things done. We face real challenges in this village, and we have to focus our efforts as a group on finding solutions that make them the reality. And we have to get going now. This council must lead this community forward, but we can't do that if we are continuing to use gotcha politics of yesterday. We're better than that. We need to work together to discuss and deliberate on the important issues. We won't always agree with one another, but if our discussions are open and honest and based wholly on facts, I am confident that we will arrive at a positive result for this village. As the council member Seguirola's public records request this morning, I'm not sure what the agenda is. I'm not sure about the objective, but we will comply. I'm disappointed with the time and the money that the village will be spending to comply, but we'll provide what was requested. You know, Ignacio, you and I discussed this during the race. I ran because there's too much focus on personal agendas and not enough on the village's agenda. And I'm hoping that's not the case here. This could all have been resolved with a simple phone call and a discussion. But instead, it is being used by some to sow division and discord in our village. And we need to work together. We need to get back to work. We need to get the things done that are important to this village. And frankly, this issue right now just isn't one of those issues that we should be focusing on. So that's my comment.
Mayor, if I may, I have a comment also.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well done, baby.
Very briefly, I also ran for this position and was elected to it because I see myself as representing the entire village, 7,000 plus registered voters and 13,000 plus residents. I don't represent any one single group, any one single interest. I think I have a responsibility for everyone. Now, I have a response to the presentation that's going to be made later, and a response to the public comments that I know are going to be coming. So I'll keep this very short. In a nutshell, my request this morning was in response to the same exact request that was sent to me by Ms. Jennifer Stearns Buttrick last week. I believe if we're going to clear the air, let's clear the air by all sides and all parties.
Councilmember Laredo?
Mr. Mayor, just briefly to thank you for taking the initiative. I was originally against calling the special meeting, and I hope in the record, Madam Clerk, that it's perfectly clear in the minutes that this does not set any precedent. I am for orderly representative democracy business. Any one councilman's complaints or issue with a budget process, which is very thought out, should not precipitate a special meeting of this council. If we forgot that just a few weeks ago we had a planning retreat to try to bring efficiency to our government so that we can save money and save your taxpayers' dollar, and we're back to creating unnecessary job. I agree to the meeting only because it's so out of line of all the experiences I've had in public life, so personal, so distorted, and so unfair that I applaud you taking the initiative and the courage to do it. And just to make sure the record reflects that this should not set any precedent for this council in the future. And I'll have other words as well at the end. But for now, we'd like to hear from the public.
So noted. Anybody else?
Mayor, if I may, a motion to allow the two council members to participate by phone.
That's what you were just talking to me about. I need a motion to allow the two council members to participate telephonically.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Just to let the record reflect that Vice Mayor McCormick and Councilmember Petros are participating by phone. Next item is a presentation and discussion regarding Key Biscayne Community Foundation with the Village of Key Biscayne.
No comments on these glasses. I forgot mine.
You look very cute, Gary.
Get it, Tony, get it.
You're adorable.
Thank you.
May I say something before you start?
Certainly.
I want to thank you, Councilman Jorge Mendia, Dr. Jorge Mendia, Councilman Pat Woodson, Richard Goldstein, Michael Grousman, Ann Roth, Ana Gloria Rivas Vasquez, Bill Rohrer, Steve Sonnabend, Danielle Vidal, and Jennifer Johnson, which I believe is the board of this foundation, to congratulate them for the work they have done in the service of this community. And hopefully that, and thank you for coming. And of course, as far as this councilman is concerned, this is not an inquisition, nor are you on trial. Notwithstanding what one may think, given the events of the last 10 days.
Thank you for those comments. So, for those of you that don't remember, I'm Gary Gross. I've always been shy of the microphone, sorry. Previously on the council, and now I'm here in my role as chair of the Key Biscayne Community Foundation Board of Directors. Just so no one will ask if there's any impropriety, I did not take this position on until I was no longer on the council. And I just wanted to make that clear. Melissa White, our executive director, is going to be making a presentation to the council and to everyone that's listening tonight, outlining the programs that the foundation and the village have been working on together in the past and will hopefully continue to work on in the future. These programs, we believe, and I hope we all believe, have made a significant improvement in our village, and they're all for the betterment of our residents. I'm going to embarrass Melissa a little bit because it's one of my favorite things to do. I've known Melissa since she was a young girl babysitting for my son. I've watched her grow up to become an incredible young woman, and her goal is to follow her dreams, and she and I used to have a lot of conversations about that. And those dreams could have taken her anywhere and could have allowed her to do anything, but they always seem to have something in common, those dreams. How can I help? What can I do to contribute? How can I make things better for people? How do I help people in need? How do I become an innovator? How can I become an agent of change for the better? And that's why her dreams led her back to this community and to the Key Biscayne Community Foundation. And we are all very much the better for it. Melissa is the Key Biscayne Foundation, and the foundation is Melissa. Most everything the foundation does, we were asked to do by the village. Most of the programs that we administer and the programs that we manage, we do so at the request of the village. It's always been that way, and it will always be that way in the future. The funds that the foundation receives from the village are all specifically earmarked for specific projects, and all those funds are spent in exactly the same way that they're earmarked. They're outlined in the budget, they're approved by the council, they're approved by the manager. It works that way every year. The foundation does not make a profit off the village. It never has, and it never will. And I think something that might illustrate this, Melissa doesn't even have an expense account. Most every day she's out talking to donors and potential donors, trying to raise money for the foundation, trying to raise money to support the programs that we work on with the village. Because remember, the village's contribution doesn't pay for these programs without funds that are raised from the private sector. And she pays for those meals and drinks and whatever out of her own pocket. And I've told her many times, Melissa, when you're conducting foundation business, you really ought to charge it to the foundation as an expense. She won't do it. She won't do it because it just doesn't seem right to her. That's Melissa. The budget workshop last week was very painful to watch. It was painful to watch for a lot of people, but especially for Melissa, and the reason is because she cares so deeply. The foundation has enjoyed its relationship with the village, and I believe that the village has benefited greatly from its relationship with the foundation. We would like to continue that relationship. We would like to know that we have the confidence of this council and of the manager. If we do, we'll be very happy to continue working with the village in the way we have in the past and in any way that we can be beneficial. Otherwise, we have plenty of work to do in our other charitable endeavors, and we will be very happy to do that as well. This is in your hands. I appreciate the time. I have bit my tongue and behaved like a good boy, and I'm now going to turn this over to Melissa to make her presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Melissa White, 370 Heather Lane. Apologies to my husband. This is his first council meeting.
You picked the right one, right?
Oh, sorry. The Key Biscayne Community Foundation. Building community. That's what we're all about. Our mission is to enable, facilitate, and empower residents to make a positive difference in the local, greater, and global community through programs, grant making, fiscal sponsorship, and community leadership. We are a charitable bank. What does that mean? Our charitable funds allow families, corporations the ability to request grants to the charitable organizations that they care about in the most effective and efficient way. It creates economy of scale, lessens overhead, organized community giving grants to a larger impact. Charitable dollars are allowed to grow. Key Biscayne Community Foundation has many family and corporation foundations. They're listed below. We also have programs and funds benefiting the greater community. This is through fiscal sponsorships and community programs. These are some of those. Some of the programs and funds that benefit the greater community. Art Cares for Kids. This is the baby of Liz Portuando and a group of women that dedicate their time and talent to make a difference in the lives of children at Holtz Pediatric Oncology Unit. Chief Press Charitable Fund. This is our, I think everybody's familiar with this one. It makes a difference in a lot of lives in Liberty City. Eileen McCann Memorial Scholarship. This one is obviously very close to my heart. We've been able to support students going to college. Fill a Bag. This is Manny Rianda, Nancy Davis, James Duncan's baby. And what they've been able to do is not just for Key Biscayne, but it's cleaning beaches everywhere in Miami-Dade County. And we're proud to be a fiscal sponsor. Michael's Magic Camp. This was set up in the memory of Michael Schultz, who was killed almost 15 years ago. And today, starting next week, kids going from Miami-Dade County that don't get to see the beach, that don't get to swim in our waters, will be at the Biscayne Nature Center. And we're very proud of our relationship with Theo Long and the Biscayne Nature Center. iPads for Soldiers. This is a baby of Winnie and Wes Pritchett. They started it with the help of Amy Zambrano and a lot of other residents to give back to our veterans. Robert Kemper Award for professionalism in medicine. This is in memory of Robert Kemper, and it is supported by his friends and family, Rosa and York and Scott and Kara and Trish and many others, to keep Bob's memory alive. Victoria London Scholarship. This was started to keep Victoria's legacy alive. And through this scholarship, kids that can't afford to go to some of the top colleges in the United States are able to do so. In the last 3 years, we've supported one full class, meaning they don't just get a free ride 1 year. They get it the entire time they're in business school. Programs and funds benefiting the local community. This is a list of them. 4th of July parade, which my office, in between preparing for this and getting everything ready, has been working with the parade committee, which a lot of them are here, to get ready for the best small town parade. Some of our other KBCF programs, the Historical Society, Active Seniors on the Key, the Lighthouse Run, KBCF and the Village Partnership for Community Programming. In 2015, the Village Council decided they wanted to support the work that we were doing in the local community. This is around our mission, our core programming, citizen science, environment, civic engagement, teaching the rights and responsibilities of citizenship, community forums, town halls, health and wellness, work sharing space for volunteers, and advocacy. Citizen Scientist Project. This is probably one of the biggest programs that we run, and it is much larger than the village contribution to it. So some of our partners. This is programming that we're able to accomplish in collaboration with the village. Key Challenge, almost 1,000 students participate on Virginia Key and Key Biscayne schools. Enhancing health and wellness, we do this through evidence-based exercise programs, food co-op in Liberty City, wellness in the schools, healthy living lectures and community library, healthy aging, This is the evidence-based programming. Village of Empathy, civic engagement, youth development, community building. This is accomplished in 3 ways: an academy for civic engagement to try to remind and engage residents to take leadership roles in our local community. Sister City Initiative with Liberty City. Our local PTA and the Key Biscayne Community Foundation fund wellness in the schools, not just at the K-8 school, but also at Charles Drew Elementary. Evidence-based programming designed to develop empathy and stop bullying. This is more on the Civic Engagement Academy, anti-bullying, and creating a community that cares. Advocacy regarding promoting safety. Traffic and public safety on the Rickenbacker Causeway, partnering with the Monica Bruguera Foundation on boat safety education when we were trying to stop what was happening on Mashta Flats and create a safer environment. Distracted driving campaign to ensure that no other mother has to lose their son. We're working right now with Debbie Wanikoff to try to raise awareness that it is not legal to drive and hold your phone and text and drive. Public philanthropic partnership for local transportation. Presented in 2015 and approved by the Village Council. This has probably caused the most confusion because of the size of this budget. The 2018-2019 contract with Freebie, $225,000 is allocated for on-demand, $170,000 is allocated for circulator, which is reimbursed by the CITT funding that goes to the village. It does not go to the foundation. And you'll see that in the 2017-2018 budget year for the village, we only reimbursed $262,000, not $395,000, because we don't reimburse except what is spent. Public philanthropic partnership. 2017, of our total contributions, the village made up 18%. Majority of that is Freebie. You can see in 2018 it grew. That's because the circulator was added. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I say, I was following protocol, and to not upset the chairman and his distinguished board, I thanked them at the beginning for their service. May I now take the opportunity to thank you personally, and I think on behalf of a lot of people, probably the vast majority, what I call the silent majority of this community, for the good work you do. I'm sorry what you've been put through. I'm sorry that your vacation that you so well planned with your husband and your kids were disturbed by this thing. You were not here, let the record reflect, because we did change the date and you had made plans. We made a change to accommodate one of our councils on schedule. So just from the bottom of my heart, thank you, and please smile.
Jennifer Stearns-Buttrick on behalf of the Key Biscayne Community Foundation. I don't want to beat a dead horse. We've all spent a lot of time on this in the last 2 weeks, but I just wanted to be available for any questions that anyone has about fiscal sponsorships or the work of the foundation or any of the legalities that have been raised. Any questions?
I guess probably a good time for me to speak. I've been recently accused of having a conflict of interest. Evidently, there's a state of Florida law that when you're a government person like I am as a councilman, I shouldn't be voting on anything that I have, they say, an interest in. And the facts that I was presented to me, by somebody showing it to me, was that, number one, I was involved with this terrible thing called the Victoria London Memorial Scholarship Fund. And basically was going to set the thing up with the Miami Foundation. But because of Melissa, because I think the great job they did, I got together with her and I signed the papers and we signed the foundation, it's been funded, and now it gives out scholarships, as he told you. I have no longer have anything to do with it. I don't determine who gets the scholarships. I have nothing. I don't give any more money. I'm done. And that was number one. Number two is I've done something else terrible. Basically, I've donated a few dollars to charity through Melissa, through the foundation, as well as privately. So therefore, because I'm getting a benefit, they say, by donating money to the Melissa so she can distribute it to various charities instead of all bothering me, that I'm a benefit. Therefore, I have a conflict with that. By the way, I also might as well confess, I also donate to Chuck's charity. So therefore, I probably shouldn't have anything to do with the police department because of that.
That would be a dream for Chuck, so I don't know if you want to put that one out
my point is this, more than likely I'll be reported to the ethics or God knows what Florida law I've broken. So two things, can I stay here and participate in anything to do with the Key Biscayne Foundation? Yes. Okay, fine.
And I thank you for
excuse me, that means you'll provide me legal counsel.
Yes, we're going to repay you for your legal fees.
I understand
You stole my line, Ed. You stole my line.
$750 an hour. Thank you.
A conflict of interest.
And I am biased.
Actually,
I am really biased. I will tell everybody, I think they do a great job. Thank you.
yes. Eddie, we've all spent enough time on this, so I'm going to sit down. To the extent that any questions come up, I'm happy to answer them.
And by the way, I take exception, very strong exception, to your demeaning reference to Victoria Lunding, because she was a great friend and one of the reasons I named my daughter Victoria. So we're very happy that she's got a foundation that
Thank you.
that helps students in college. I'm surprised and pleased.
All right, what we're going to do is, why don't we have public comments, and then we'll have some discussion. I think Councilmember Segurola stated he was going to have some comments at the end, and then we can all discuss, but
If it's all right with you, I'd like to make the first comments after
you can
public
make the
comment.
first, absolutely. Councilmember De La Cruz.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, who's listening from afar, honorable council members, Madam Manager, I wish I didn't have to be here. This is a very difficult moment for the village of Key Biscayne. But in difficult moments that we've had in the past, the village of Key Biscayne has always responded, and it's responding here, and it's responding all over outside, and it's responding with everybody that you speak. The words accountability, transparency, and efficiency are great words. I don't think that there's one council member, one person in this audience, or one person in the village of Key Biscayne that would say that those are not proper goals for this particular body. Those should be probably your three most important goals. It's okay when you all disagree with each other and you bicker back and forth and you can defend yourselves when you're up there. But you have an awesome responsibility when it comes to dealing with the public. And the public includes our most important private partner, which is the foundation, the Key Biscayne Community Foundation. I happen to have had the privilege of working very closely with the Key Biscayne Community Foundation when I was a council member. I probably worked as close with the foundation as any of the other council members. I was very involved with carrying on the work of council member Dr. Michael Kelly, who with Melissa put together the Freebie project. After he was gone from the council, I took it upon myself to help her in every which way I could with regards to that particular very important project. And I think everybody here will agree that that's a very, very important project. I also worked with Melissa with regards to the autonomous vehicles that was an initiative of mine when I was a council member. And she was incredibly helpful with that. It hasn't gone to fruition yet, but as we all know, it's going to be something that we're all going to have to agree to attend to, maybe not in this council, but in councils to be happening. Every single council that I was involved in I was elected in 2014. From 2014, the foundation still did not have the relationship that it has today with the council. But 2015, 16, 17, and 18, every single time that we had a budget workshop and a budget and all the budget hearings that you have coming before you, we examined the budget, including the budget for the Key Biscayne Community Foundation. And all of us had the opportunity. I was, of course, much closer to the foundation, so I knew what was going on a little bit more. But everybody had the opportunity to ask and to inquire and to make sure that we're being efficient, transparent, and accountable. What we can't do from the dais, what we couldn't do when I was there, and what I don't believe that you all can do, is accuse a member of our public or our most important private partner of nefarious activities, of it not looking right, of things that are just absolutely not true. And this has become the subject of a particular chat that we all know about that exists here on Key Biscayne. And the amount of disinformation and the amount of vitriol and the amount of hate that I read when I read a transcript of all the things that were being said there, total misinformation about the process, about the millage rate, about the way things, about the awesome job that you guys have to perform in order to put together a budget for the village of Key Biscayne. People have to stand up and say it's enough. It's not okay. It's not just First Amendment privileges. It's not okay to yell fire in a crowded theater. It's not okay to say that there's something wrong with the relationship with our number one private partner. Without the Key Biscayne Community Foundation, we wouldn't be able to do half the stuff that we do. She makes us look good. She makes you look good. You saw the list up there of all the things that they do. Then that's not all inclusive. Here's a good thing. A good thing is that there's 7 of you. And of course, there's a vote whenever something has to be funded. And if it has to be 6-1, then that's the way it'll be. That's the way it should be. I wish Katie and Allison were here because I know they would like to have participated in person. And they're probably chomping at the bit wherever they happen to be. Look, I believe that a big person, and I'm not saying big in terms of volume, size of person, a big person, a big-hearted person, accepts mistakes, apologizes, and allows this village to go forward. We need to go forward. We need to get past this. This is not us. Please. Thank you.
Gene Stearns.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, Manager. My name is Gene Stearns, 250 K Florida Drive. Been a resident of Key Biscayne for 48 years. My family and I have grown here. I taught my children when they were dating the definition of geographic undesirability, which would be anybody they dated who wouldn't want to live here. I will tell you that I've listened to a lot of people in the last few days who are appalled at what they're reading on a chat, particularly, and what they're hearing. And I've reminded many of them that this happens every now and then in our community. This isn't the first time. It emerges every now and then because it's just the nature of humanity. Some people are just disagreeable. And some people have strong opinions, but they don't marshal their facts before they form them. I was presented with this blog that's going around, and I read it, and my first thought was a speech that was given by George Smathers through little towns in Florida years ago when he was running for the U.S. Senate against Claude Pepper. And he would go to these little towns in Florida, and he would say in a breathless voice, "Do you know," and I want you to forgive me for the words I'm about to use, but it's true, Claude Pepper's sister is a known thespian. And the crowd would be, "Oh my God." And I got to apologize now for some other things that he's admitted. He matriculated at Harvard College. And so I read this blog, and my immediate reaction was, Ed London, and hold your breath, donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to a charity. My God, stop him before he does it again. All right? And I'm going, I mean, on the one hand, you want to feel sorry for these people who were so in such a twisted world that they don't understand. But it's okay if they can do it if they're not hurting other people. And so it's okay, for example, to have an opinion that I read that the village is drowning in debt. Drowning in debt because you owe $24 million and we have to pay it off immediately. And that's an opinion. Now, you're entitled to have an opinion. And then I say to myself, this village has a debt cap of 1% of total assessed value property, which is $80 million, which nobody, I believe, anywhere has such a debt cap. And that most people who have a functioning brain would conclude that if you buy a capital item, you don't want to tax the people in today's tax base to pay for something that's going to have a useful life of a long time. You pay it off over time. And I would say, okay, you have a tax base of $8 billion. So, you know, when we incorporated, by the way, so I put this in perspective. I read this blog about spending $25,000 for a music festival, and my God, I didn't go to it, therefore we shouldn't do it. You know, honestly, you wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have Village Green. We wouldn't have the community center. We wouldn't have one of the finest police and fire departments in the United States of America. We wouldn't have the low crime rate we had. We wouldn't have lives saved because of the quality of the public services we had, but for the fact of a few, I want to say few, many Key Biscayners some years ago sacrificed their time, their money, their energies, and dedicated to creating this government. And the slogan... And we dealt with a level of nastiness at that time to make that happen that makes what's going on looking like a choir. And we survived it. We were able to overcome it. We basically killed them with laughter because that's what it was. Sad laughter, but sad. And we did it. And now I read that we're going broke, and I go, I went to look at the millage tables today. Do you all have any idea that our tax rate, and by the way, our slogan years ago was incorporation means more than just lower taxes. And what did that slogan come from? Many of us got tired of explaining to people that your taxes would probably go down. And they'd say, no, we're not paying city taxes. You say, yes, you are. No, we're not. Yes, you are. No, you're not. It was a very intelligent conversation, all right? Because we couldn't get people to understand that the county was charging us city taxes just like Coral Gables. But the reason people didn't know they were paying taxes, because they got no services. We didn't have a single paramedic on the entire island of Key Biscayne. Not one. Not one. We had a broken down fire truck. Okay, we had one paramedic vessel that was responsible for Cape Florida, Key Biscayne, and Virginia Key, and Crandon Park. And we, you know what we were paying for that? We were paying 2.4 mils for fire rescue we didn't have. We didn't have, our police department consisted of Metro maybe showing up if they couldn't pick up chicks at Crandon Park, okay? And that's what we had. We had somebody donate hundreds of thousands of dollars of trees for Crandon Boulevard, but the county wouldn't spring for 30 grand to water them, so they all died. And they didn't die pleasantly. They stayed there for years dead because there was nobody to do anything. And so what you're looking at is people gave of themselves, their time, their money, their energy for other people. I would explain to people that the benefit we derived from all that we did, we would call psychic income. Psychic income. Because the income of psychic income, you can take that to your grave, you can't take your money, okay? And so what you're looking at here is a circumstance where I sense a little retrenchment here in terms of bad will, bad attitudes, nastiness, because by the way, everybody's entitled to an opinion about whether we should fund this or fund that. I have no quarrel with that. I can disagree with you or not agree with you. I will tell you, for example, thank God we have the ability financially, because we have some major problems in our community that we have to deal with. And it's not east and west. You all weren't on the council because I don't come here often. Okay, I was involved, but I don't come here often, very rarely. One of the times I chose to come here was when I heard that we weren't going to pick up trash in the gated communities. And I came here to say, what? Because after a storm, if there's a storm, it affected everybody. It's for everybody. You go pick up the trash wherever it is because people paid to have it picked up. Okay? And so I'm reluctant to defend Melissa and the foundation because they don't need defending. None of us should be defending them. And if there's anything good from coming out of this is the nastiness and the meanness that was directed to them should embarrass the people that did it, not just the one person that's sitting here. And I'll leave you with one of my favorite sayings that came from Ed's president, George W. Bush. There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me, you can't get fooled again. Right? And I think we kind of got his point, even though he bungled it. But the point is here. Don't fool us again. Yeah. I voted for somebody in this council because Melissa White said he was a good guy. And the mayor said he was a good guy. And Lucci said he was a good guy. And Elaine said he was a good guy. I didn't know him, okay? As George W. Bush said, okay, don't fool me again. All right? Thank you.
Carlos de la Cruz.
Now, Mr. Stearns, could you get back on the podium for 1 minute? Can I steal 2 minutes from 1 minute?
No, push him away.
So one of the people, for those of you who were not here 27 years ago, this is the driving force that brought us the energy, the determination that we were able to participate with him and a lot of others to create this wonderful village. Thank you.
And I thank you for that, but I must tell you, the Islander News went through a period of referring to me as the father of Key Biscayne, which caused me to write something which was probably the most frequently read of anything I've ever written, because the headline was, Key Biscayner denies paternity. And the reason I wrote it was because I wasn't the father. No person was the father. No person was the mother. This was the greatest collection of team people that was extraordinary. I mean, people who were smart, dedicated, highly motivated, selfless, caring for the greater good, who just put up with some crap that you can't imagine. The rumors, the accusations. I was doing this because I worked for B.B. Rebozo. I was doing it because I wanted to be city attorney. I was doing it because I wanted to zone land. I mean, you can't believe the stuff that was spread around about all of us, because that's the nature of humanity. You can't say your arguments are wrong, which, by the way, if I may, last point, which is there are two kinds of people in this world. They're the people that gather the facts and form their conclusions, And then there are the people that do it the faster way just to form your conclusions. That way you don't have to be bothered with the facts. But what we did here was very special, but it was a whole group of people.
It was.
Carlos.
Sorry, Carlos.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, village manager. I'm Carlos de la Cruz, 5 Harbor Point. I've lived here for 45 years approximately. And basically, I got involved 27 years ago in the founding of Key Biscayne. Gene was my attorney. We went to the first meetings together. And basically, why did we do that? We did it because we figured that a community that you can walk north to south and east to west in a total of less than an hour at a slow pace basically should be a community that acts together. And we realized at that time that we were basically a subsidiary interest to the county. And we thought that we could bring enough people to be interested in the running of the government here in a proper way that would bring the community closer together, not further apart. Obviously, there are different interests. There are different interests for people that live in condominiums than the ones that live in houses. There are different interests for people that are retired and are facing a decreasing income versus some that are increasing their wealth. But we thought that civility and the type of representative government that existed at that time was something that we could import into the city, into the village, and create a village. A village is a community. And when I see the blog that everybody's talking about has 36 pages for 17 days. So it's more than 2 pages a day. I mean, it's basically trying to granularly manage the functions of government. But I think that if you do it in a way that's divisive to the community, and I know, Mike, that you're totally against that because I know you well. I know many of you on the council well. But basically, I know that dividing this community is the worst thing we can do. And I'm proud that Melissa White is the director of the foundation. I think she's done a wonderful job. And I think that the chances of our finding anybody better are zero. And I think that she is owed an apology. Thank you.
So, Marta.
Who's next?
And Alan Fine, you're on deck.
Oh, no.
Hey, Paloma.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and fellow neighbors. My name is Marta Sacasa Torres, and this is Paloma Torres, and we live at 798 Fernwood Road, along with my 2 other daughters and my husband, who are sadly out of town. I have lived in Key Biscayne since I was 3 years old, which makes this coming fall my 40th year here. I know sometimes this can be seen as a bad thing by newcomers, but I would think that we would all love the Key so much that we couldn't see ourselves living anywhere else. Just this week, actually, on Rat Radio, they were talking about how we don't have a lot of goodbye parties because everybody likes to stay. So I should add, though, that my husband was born in Miami and didn't live here until after we were engaged. Yet he is possibly more of a Key rat at this point than I am. So our household is mixed, you could say, old school and new-ish. Either way, we have seen and experienced the countless benefits that the Key Biscayne Community Foundation has given our island over the years. We have been able to enjoy them as a couple and as parents. Many of these wonderful initiatives, including the Key Biscayne Lighthouse Run, countless screenings of documentaries, especially the parenting ones, 4th of July parade, and so much more. But there are so many more that we haven't been able to enjoy, but realize how important and vital they are to our community and beyond. We know that living in a small community, or really any community, means having opportunities for differing interests, needs, and groups. That's what makes a community rich and successful. I'm proud that we are donors to the foundation and proud of the work that they do each year trying to expand and enrich the programs they offer to make Key Biscayne so unique and special. I also can't say enough about Melissa McConn-White, who has given so much to this community and to the foundation. Her moral compass is unquestionable, and her work ethic is unmatched. It is gut-wrenching, completely gut-wrenching, to think her intentions at the foundation and to this community, which she loves, are being attacked. And yes, I speak as a close friend, but also as a very grateful and proud resident. I hope we are sending a clear message today that our community must stand to support her and the foundation. The village knows what the facts are and should make them clear tonight so this unwarranted battle can end. Let us not rewrite history either. There is a difference between attacking the KBCF and having a civilized, broad-based budget discussion, period. I hope that we can learn from our mistakes and be very cautious in our tone and our manner as we govern our village. I hope apologies can be made and pages turned so we can have our government function efficiently and effectively on the problems that are truly facing our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta. Alan Fine.
Hello, everyone. Alan Fine, 525 Allendale. I don't know if I'm supposed to give my address when in this kind of a meeting. You know, it's been 28 years since we've had our little government here, and for 4 of those 28 years, I was a member of the council, and the other 24 not. I can tell you from my own experience, it's a lot more fun not being on the council than being on the council. When you're not on the council, you can be a know-nothing. When you're not on the council, you don't need to know what's going on. When you're not on the council, you don't have to come to budget meetings year after year like I did and continue to do, where, for instance, I could hear Melissa White describe exactly what the Key Biscayne Foundation, Community Foundation does, where they get their money, how they spend their money, and you get to hear from people like Susie and me talk about City Theater and how Key Biscayne Community Foundation works with us to bring culture to Key Biscayne, which I happen to think is a really good thing. When you're not on the council, you don't really need to know about how cheap it is for a government to borrow money in tax-free bonds. You don't need to know what our underlying needs are going to be to fight off climate change for the next 30 or 40 years. You don't need to know that. When you're not on the council, you can sit in front of your computer and work on chat rooms and say nasty things about people and say things that aren't true. But things change when you get on the council. When you get on the council, you can't take, without using the words that the nasty people use while they're bloviating, and suggest that something fishy is going on in the Key Biscayne Community Foundation. That's not right. When I was on the council, after 2 years, you know, we were working hard to get the community center built. And there was all kinds of bloviating going on, including by new members. What's going on here? This is fishy. Why are we wasting this money? And the suggestion was there were pictures of me in a Nazi uniform. People were calling me a communist. People were calling me a socialist. People were calling me a Nazi. The same kind of thing that Gene went through when he was the father of Key Biscayne. But the truth is that once you're on the dais, you can't do that. You can't do that. And you can't hurt people who deserve better. And Luis, I will say the one thing you said, I watched some of the tape the other day, and you suggested, and I think you were just trying to provide a little cover, that this must be just a problem of communication for the Key Biscayne Community Foundation and for the Village of Key Biscayne. With all due respect, it was not a problem of communication. Anybody who wanted to know the transparent nature of what this foundation has been doing and what the village has been doing with the foundation for the past number of years, all they needed to do was show up and listen, read the documents before they spat in their mouth, and it would all be there for them. I, for one, don't think a woman as strong as Melissa White needs an apology from anybody, but that we'll see whether one comes around or not. But it's nothing Melissa White needs. She's tough enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
George
Mendia?
You're right.
George, you're up next.
Council, may I,
certainly.
Councilman, while the other one gets up, just get up there a minute so I can tell you something. You haven't been watching me very carefully since I've been here 6 months. But suffice it to say, I've been preaching about this information, which is this is what a lot about. And a jest, one of the keys to this information is the rumor that's going around there, you're a good basketball player. And that is absolutely not true.
All right.
And I have the authority and the knowledge to conclude that.
All right. Thank you.
You know the truth, and we'll keep it between us.
Councilmember Mendia.
And don't
good
play
evening,
defense.
Council, Manager, friends and neighbors. George Mendia, 111 Island Drive. I have the misfortune of following 5 attorneys come up and speak. I am a doctor. This is not what I do. I don't think we need to defend the foundation any further, but I know others will. The foundation does what it does, and it'll continue doing what it does as long as we're around. The concern here is the process. We're going to hear a lot about, it wasn't about the foundation, it was about transparency. It wasn't about the foundation, it was about process. It wasn't about the foundation, it was about accountability. I'm sorry, that's not what happened that night. I looked at that video numerous times. That may be the guise now, that may be the narrative way of going about it, but I know that the manager didn't get a chance that night to actually go through and answer the questions because there were no questions asked. There was not one question asked that night. So when people say, no, he was just raising questions about process and transparency, questions have a little question mark at the end. They're not statements. They're not opinions. And that's what we didn't hear that night. So when the narrative starts to change to it's not about the foundation, it's about something else, sorry, that's not what I heard that night. Thank you. And thank you. And I want to thank all of you. And I want to thank all of you for allowing us to respond as board member of the foundation. Thank you. It really meant a lot to give us the opportunity to come up.
Thank you.
Abad Milwani.
I'll waive my time.
Okay. Manuel Delgado. Delgado. Wave? Okay. Diana Garmendia.
Well, good evening. I'm Diana Garmendia, and I live at 881 Ocean Drive. That's Casa del Mar. Thank you for letting me speak. 243 years ago tonight, other dedicated citizens were meeting to discuss government, a new government that they were launching on July 4th. Here we are, 234 years later, and we're still discussing how we wish to be governed. It's been said that democracy is messy, but that it beats every other option out there. It's also been said that all politics is local. And I think tonight's a great example of local politics in messy action. But inaction is how we should be, showing up, speaking our minds, asking questions, being involved. I say bravo to all of you behind me who could be home in your comfy chairs having a nice warm dinner. And I say a bigger bravo to all of you in front of me for doing this daily work of democracy, unstinting, the time and the effort that you put in for all of us. Thank you. And I also applaud the work of the foundation, which clearly has helped so many people. The truth is, I didn't know how many people it helped. Melissa's a driving force, and she deserves our appreciation. You have mine. But I came here tonight to speak on behalf of my neighbor, Ignacio Segurola. And I want to thank him also. I want to thank him for asking hard questions about taxpayer money. I watched the budget video that we've been discussing. I have not read this chat that you're talking about. I watched the government video that I guess we're recording another one. I'll tell you what I saw. I saw Ignacio asking about the flow of taxpayer money to the foundation. He didn't question the use of the taxpayer money. He didn't question the merits of all these programs that you've described. He didn't question 4th of July parade. He didn't question freebie vehicles. He didn't question free office space. He questioned the framework of the transfer of money. How is it done? Is it done by council vote? Is it done by a contract? That's his duty as an elected official to watch over public money. That's kind of government 101. Now, I understand he's new here, and I understand the village manager is new. So maybe they need to be shown something. Maybe some of the more experienced people can show how these transfers of public money are meant to be. Show them documentation, show them the transfer process, show them previous minutes. Maybe there's a video where it's been discussed before. That was my perception when I watched that budget video, is that it was not clear. I've worked with Ignacio on another form of government known as a condominium board. We live at Casa, it's 50 years old. We have construction all the time. It's nonstop. He is for doing good. He is for spending money. He is for anything to enhance our quality of life. Okay. But he's a lawyer.
Ms. Garmendia.
For a legal framework, making sure that everything's.
I'm sorry, you're over 4 minutes.
So I just wanted to say,
other
Melissa, keep up
speakers
your
have been
good
given a
work.
courtesy. I'd ask a
Ignacio,
courtesy of
keep
this
up
one.
your good work.
Letters.
Why can't we sort this out, shake hands, because the real fireworks are coming on Thursday night. Thank you all.
Thank you. Kara Sharp. And to your point, the prior were former council members, so I give them some latitude. I understand. I didn't want to rush her, but that's what I'm doing.
Can I pull this down? Kara Stern Sharp, and I had to be preceded by two of my family members who are far better speakers than me, so please put up with me. I'm only an accountant. 710 Woodcrest Road. This is only the second time I've been here, and the reason is that this is something that's obviously very important to me. I've known Melissa literally my whole life since I moved here when I was 16. And tonight, watching Melissa's presentation, the first thing I want to say is thank you, Melissa. I never knew all that the foundation did. I know what you've done for me, and I know you've done with my friends and my family. But watching that presentation, I had no idea how much we're touching this community. So I need to say thank you to Melissa, to the board, and to the foundation first. But For those of you, I just wanted to tell a quick personal story about why it's so important to me. Many of you may know my husband, Scott Sharp, and York Flick and Trish over there. And, you know, we all like to have fun, and we've done this for many years. And we started out joking in our backyard, you know, who's a better cook? I'm a better cook. We started off this barbecue party, and Bob Kemper was very much a part of that. And it was always a fun party. But when Bob got sick and Bob passed away, we wanted to find a way to continue to enable us to have that fun party and let our community see how much we love Bob and care about Bob. And I know I'm so glad Rosa is here as well to talk about this. The foundation gave me that ability, not me, gave us that ability, because as the accountant, they're like, well, what are we going to do? And I'm like, oh, I don't want to start a foundation. I don't want to do it. Melissa gave us that avenue and has given us that avenue. And through that, we now support the FIU School of Medicine. We support a college student, a medical student that is graduating there who represents someone like Bob Kemper that's going out into the world. The foundation has allowed us to do that and continues to allow us to do that and support us. So without things and avenues for that, for our community, that small little barbecue party has become a fundraiser, an event that over 350 people a year attend now, all in our community. So thank you, Melissa, and thank you to the foundation for enabling that to continue.
Bob Brooks. Good evening, Robert Brooks, 4191 Battersea Road in Coconut Grove, but my heart's in Key Biscayne. I came here in 1990, and we incorporated short time after that. We dedicated space to the Village Hall. The first meetings were held at a bank. One thing I noticed about Key Biscayne when I first got here, this is not your normal town. This is a unique community. It's a unique place. It's almost a state of mind, but it's also a community that deserves the best. Not only does it deserve the best, but it demands the best. And I think we've done that over the years. Remember, every council that sits has a budget. You review that budget. I've been to many of the budget hearings. I've heard the agony, everything. But at the end of the day, you vote on the budget. And then your manager, your new manager now, has to live under that budget and try to get through the day. And they do so year after year. And every one of those budgets, the village has a process that it goes through, not just to create the budget, but to use the budget. And I think what I heard the other night, sitting here, waiting to be asked a question, thank you, Dr. Mendia, for that, because that was the issue. The issue was we as community organizations were asked, do not make a presentation. You're going to provide the information in writing. You're going to provide answers to questions that we have based on the budget that you're going to present or your request. And the foundation did that. The foundation had pages after pages after pages of information regarding the work that they do. I think as council members, I honestly am so grateful that you're willing to serve. I think not only do you serve, you've got an awful responsibility ahead of you. You have a responsibility to the voters, you have a responsibility to the residents, you have a responsibility to non-residents. Melissa doesn't need any accolades because community is not one person. Community is what you're seeing here tonight. And this issue has brought the community together in a way I've never seen before. I'd like to say this, that process needs to be communicated to the organizations that the Village of Key Biscayne has agreed to be responsible for some of their good work. Without the good work of the village showing that it has the community leadership, then guess what? Nobody here is going to have a way of doing these things. So the community has a responsibility, and you've agreed to that. Now tell us what to do, how to do it. And that's what I didn't walk away with the other night. I will leave you with this. As a Rotarian, we believe in service above self. We also believe in the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And that, as a council, you need to take into account, and as a community, we need to take into account. Because at the end of the day, our requests need to go through a process. I've never, ever received a check for any of the organizations I represent that wasn't properly documented and within the requirements that the village set out from day one. That has to be codified, great, do it. But don't tell us that we're doing something wrong when we don't even know what it is that you want or that we've done anything wrong. And that's the feeling that we all walked away with. I walked away that night upset because I was here to answer questions and not a single question was asked. A lot of things were thrown around, no decisions were made, and here we are again. And then we have 41 requirements, questions, that looks to me like something that you do in discovery as an attorney.
Bob, I got to cut you off.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sally Brody? Sally?
That was one heck of a speech, Sally. Thank you.
Should I sit down now? Sally Brody at 1200 Crandon Boulevard. I always have to think where I live now. Anyways, I have to tell you, one of the reasons that we incorporated was Sally Brody.
She said Sally Brody, 1200. She's okay.
Anyways, I want to tell you, one of the reasons that we incorporated was every Tuesday night we went to Jean and Diana's house and had wine and shrimp. Remember? For 2 years we did that. My husband and I got to do that, and Elaine and Gary. But anyways, I'm here to speak about this student that I had in my classroom, and it was Melissa. She was so bright, so honest, and she still is. She never would do anything dishonest, I don't think. At least her teacher didn't know that. And she did a wonderful job. She never did things properly. Always. Always.
Nice catch.
Anyways, thank you for listening. She's special.
Thank you,
We're so lucky to have her.
Okay. Jackie Kellogg. Jackie Kellogg. And Manny, you're on deck.
I'm a little cheat notes that Jackie Kellogg, 115 Sunrise Drive. It feels a little bit like that old show, like, Melissa, this is your life. So you are amazing. And I don't really know what to start. I had an idea, but really listening to everybody, many of you know I manage the Key Biscayne Soccer Club. And I can tell you, WhatsApp hit South America probably 2 to 3 years before it hit the majority of this community. So I've been dealing with WhatsApp, gossip, chisme for like 2 to 3 years and how to manage that. And one of the things I can recommend is to just always to hit it straight on. Don't empower confusion. Don't empower insecurity. It's very important in this community, and I've also lived here most of my life, to bring people into the light, to share ideas, and that's what makes this community a great place. So, and from my experience, I walk around the soccer fields during games. I shake hands. If I see a parent with a troubled look on their face, I engage them. I want to know what's going on, and I hope that for the next 2 to 4 years that all of you continue to do the same thing, to keep campaigning and still talking to people, because it's super important to understand where people are coming from. So, well, this is a little bit difficult to talk about, but what motivated me to come here was in 2015, we had a family with Key Biscayne Soccer Club. Their son played goalie. They lived in Miami Beach, but he went to Palmer Trinity. And so he wanted to play soccer with his friends. He was on my son's team, actually, and he came down with an acute case of leukemia and passed away within 72 hours of that diagnosis. it was very hard for me to manage, the ripple effect of something like that. And when his father, Simon Strong, called me, he said right away, one of the things he wanted to do was because the mother was from Colombia, Vilma Tarazona, who's a very well-known reporter for Univision, wanted to go to Colombia and donate this new type of ball. It's called an indestructible soccer ball. And when he was there, he was very taken by the poverty and wanted to do this. And immediately I said, Melissa, let's go meet with Melissa. And I was stunned to see how she managed this situation. I don't know if you can imagine parents who lost their 12-year-old son in a room talking about how to remember him, how to create this challenge. And she managed it from the heart with her own experience and with true love and empathy like I've never seen before. And I treasure her, and I am your soldier. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Manny? And then Cliff Brody, you're on deck.
Good evening, everybody. Manny Rionda, 155 Sunrise Drive in the Garden District. I find it's almost like a little surreal that we're here tonight, but I'm an optimist, so, we like to say we're making lemonade, right? Even on the greatest days, making lemonade. And tonight, maybe we're making lemonade. I mean, did you guys know all of this? I mean, we barely even scratched it. Melissa, she went through that thing in about 30 seconds, but the amount that this community foundation does for our community, it's unbelievable. And, look, we all make mistakes, all right? And sometimes we say the wrong thing, and sometimes we have doubts about something. And if I know one thing about Melissa and the Key Biscayne Community Foundation, has anyone ever had a hard time reaching her here? Has anyone ever tried? You've had, okay. For the record, her mom is the only one. That I can believe. So, look, we all make mistakes. Let's mend the fences here. Let's write, maybe the wrong perceptions or the wrong words were used, and let's get back together, man. Like the community that we are. It's the Key Biscayne. It's KBCF. It's not the Key Biscayne Crocodile Foundation. It's the Community Foundation. So when I think pride, gratitude, respect. I mean, which one of those does this organization deserve more than the other? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manny. And Cliff's up. Louisa Conway's next. Cliff, you're up. And then Louisa Conway's after you. Sorry. Louisa's on deck. My mistake. Bad terminology.
Clifford Brody, 1200 Crandon Boulevard.
Is that the same address as the?
Yeah, it's that school teacher that was up here a few minutes ago.
I just wanted to make sure.
Everything that I could possibly say about the Key Biscayne Community Foundation and Melissa has already been said. I'll only add to it that I've worked very closely with Melissa on several projects, and there isn't anybody that's a harder worker, more honest, and more dedicated to this community than she is. And it's a shame that she has to go through this kind of thing. But I've been through it myself. When we spent $8.5 million for the Village Green, there was some people that thought there wasn't ever going to be anybody there except homeless from Miami that come out to sleep in the evening. It didn't quite turn out that way. When people look at this village, and I mean people from other municipalities and government, they cannot believe what we do and what we accomplish with the tiny staff that we have and at the lowest millage rate of it, in all of Dade County. How do we do that? We do it with public-private partnerships and public-public partnerships. We use them a lot. And you can't pick up a magazine about municipal government today that doesn't have big articles in about, oh, boy, this is the greatest thing. This is how municipal government should run. But that is exactly the relationship between the Key Biscayne Community Foundation and the village. The village makes an agreement with the community foundation to provide a specific number of services at a specific cost, and that goes through the budget process, and that's how it's done. But it's not just them. I mean, it's the Chamber of Commerce. It's the athletic club. All of our youth athletic programs are done that way. And yet, when you look at this 41-item fishing expedition that's been delivered to the village clerk, they want information not just on the Key Biscayne Community Foundation, but all of the relationships of every community foundation forever, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, the whole request is going to bring the village government to its knees for months, and the taxpayers of Key Biscayne are going to be footing a huge bill for absolutely nothing. But to get back on subject, we wanted a high school for our kids. How did we get a high school? We formed a public-public partnership with Dade County School Board, and we have one. A community of 13,000 people, we have one of the finest high schools in all of Dade County. Fire rescue. There's no 13,000 population community that has a fire rescue department that even comes close to what we have. How do we do it? Well, first of all, we've got a great staff and everything's great, but we have a public relationship partnership with the city of Miami to provide the kind of services that we couldn't possibly think about doing ourselves. And this is the way to run a government, and its whole thing is being called into question by a few people that haven't Watch your
foggiest
Watch
idea.
It almost came out.
Foggiest idea.
All right. I don't have any idea what the heck is going on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Cliff. Louisa? Tom McCormick's on deck. Louisa Conway is up, and then Tom McCormick's on deck.
Excuse me.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for letting me speak this evening. Ignacio, you
Your
remind
name and
me
address,
of a
please.
man. Oh, Louisa Conway, 151 Crandon. You remind me of a man that I really admired but never had an opportunity to meet. This man changed the way the establishment thought about a group of people. And he did it when a woman decided she was not going to sit in the back of the bus. And that day, he changed the way America thought about how it should run its government. Finding public servants like that is rare, and it is one that we should applaud. Villainizing them, holding this public theater. So I want to comfort you this evening. I know this is difficult because you're in a room full of people that have lived on this island 30 years and now have the way that things have been done challenged by us, the newcomers. But I want to give you comfort tonight.
Would
It's
be
okay,
respectful in this chamber, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Martin Luther King once said, "There comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but he must take it because conscience tells him it is right." Well, Councilmember Segoria, it seems that you advocating for an accounting in the sunshine of public funds paid to the KBCF has become a very unpopular decision amongst the foundation's supporters and leadership. On June 18th, you cleared your conscience and took the correct action by admonishing this council to ascertain whether monies transferred or passed through to the foundation and all groups is in compliance with a Florida statute. I am not a lawyer. 215.89. As a taxpayer, I am here to ask the council to vote to require an audit of the money that is given to the foundation. Specifically, who receives the money, how much does each group get, the purpose and use of the money. The audit should also include the criteria used by the board of the foundation or executive director to decide who is given the public funds. This is not a witch hunt as they are claiming. This is merely accountability and transparency in the sunshine, and I would hope that you would all go for this. This is taxpayer money. The council should expect this type of accountability for the use of our tax dollars. The lack of proper internal controls to substantiate payments made with ad valorem dollars to the community-based groups is not a KBCF problem. It's a Village of Key Biscayne problem. I agree with the president of the Chamber of Commerce. It is not the groups, it's you, and it's you, Madam Manager. Let's not get sidetracked by public drama and sentiment that the foundation has been maligned because taxpayers and a council member have asked for a detailed accounting in the sunshine of all public funds paid to the KBCF and other groups. Instead, let's focus on supporting the village manager's mission to professionalize and establish proper accounting and protocols and controls. Using my tax dollars for charity donations totaling $706,000 is, in my opinion, not the role of this council, and in fact could be possible misappropriation of public funds. That is not for me to decide. The KBCF is not an elected government entity. The foundation is not the legal custodian of the public funds. You are. You all have one job, to be stewards of the public funds, to advocate for the taxpayer. It baffles me how a council member asking for an accounting of the public funds in the sunshine has been demonized by supporters and leaders of the foundation and possibly by his own peers on the council, who decided to hold what appears to be some sort of a public lynching of a council member.
Thank you, Ms. Conway.
You're very welcome.
May I say something?
No, there's no responses to anybody.
You done?
Mr. McCormick.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Tom McCormick, 680 Curtis Wood. I think you all have seen in the public record Billy Kimball's written submission. I thought the public would benefit from hearing some excerpts from that. Billy, as most of us know, is our former neighbor and current friend. We're on our way west by car and stopped last night in Savannah, Georgia, and walking around the city, I noted that the price of a beautifully restored 20-room antebellum mansion in this lovely, culturally vibrant city is in the $1.2 to $1.4 million range. If you compare this to the price of a 3-bedroom Mackle Ranch house on the Key, still, despite some recent declines, running around $2 million when I last checked, the intangible value of living on the Key begins to become a bit more tangible. For those who place maintaining property values at the top of their priority list, it seems to me they should be doing everything they can to support the foundation, which is perhaps the most cost-effective, efficient means to strengthen the Key community and provide amenities for its citizens. I do not believe that any rational homebuyer would make a decision to buy a house or a condo on the Key based on whether the millage is 0.2 mils higher or lower. What would make a buyer willing to pay a considerable premium to live on the Key are the special attributes of this community. Regarding the supposed need for greater transparency and accountability as it applies to the foundation, I have looked over the financial information on the foundation's website and compared it to other charities that Alexandra and I support. Billy then goes on to list a number of international, national, regional, and local charities, which was humiliating to me. I had to revisit my charitable activities. The quality and detail of the foundation's reporting meets or exceeds standards of any of these. Further, the effectiveness of nonprofits is judged in part by what they spend on administrative component of their work. That is increasing because of this meeting and the need for it right now. The assertion of the supposed conflict of interest between supporting the foundation as a member of council well as a number of you do, is too silly to respond to. I wish you all, the village, the best, and hope that you can move on from this unfortunate incident to genuinely important matters, including whether the council should consider increasing its contribution to the foundation above the current very modest level in light of what we've now learned about the important benefits they provide. And last thing, I disagree with Council Member Seguirola's comments. However, I think that to some degree, he's been treated unfairly, not tonight, but with some chatter I've heard over the last few days, because people have equated what he said, which I viewed as problematic, but they've equated it with the vile content of that chat. And it is simply not a fair equation. What Councilmember Seguirola did not rise to the slanderous, disgusting content directed at one of our community's most important and beloved citizens. So you don't have to listen to me, but what I would do is, council member, I would ask you to just condemn those words, because they weren't yours. People are either right or wrong when they believe you're acting in concert with the people that said those words. But I think you can go a long way, respectfully, if you just say the things that were said about Melissa were disgusting and you don't support the people that said it. I, for one, would urge you to do that, because I think a false equivalence is made. We can disagree with what you said and not equate it with some of the, Cliff, what was the word you were going to use before? Some of the garbage. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Just one quick correction, Tom. You said we should increase our contribution to the village, to the community foundation.
Now you woke him up. We had him asleep in the back, and now you woke him up.
We don't contribute anything to the foundation.
That's right.
We get services for them. They provide services more efficiently at a lower cost than we could for ourselves. I will vote against the contribution, but I will support a great bargain, which they are. Thank you.
For the record, those were Billy Kimball's words, not mine. I just want to make that clear.
All right, Laudy Ibarra. No, there you
go. Laudy Ibarra, 482 Fernwood Road. Let me find my little speech over here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, the Key Biscayne Community Foundation, it's an amazing program for the Key. I worked at the Key Biscayne Community Church Day School, and they have helped us tremendously. They approved a grant for a garden that was in really bad shape, and iguanas were eating everything. Thanks to this, our children are able to enjoy the fruits and vegetables. They also gave us a grant for our camera security system and helped us not long ago catch a thief that broke into our school. The Key Biscayne Community Foundation also does many positive things for the teachers and children in our community. The Given Tree and Good Neighbor Award is an amazing event that have to honor our outstanding students and teachers in our community who go an extra mile each day. Together with the Coalition for the Good of the Children, they celebrate teacher appreciation with the lunch and gift, which are much needed. Another thing I would like to mention is the Key Challenge. This encourages students the appreciation and knowledge of the island's natural resources. Our students have learned a lot creating projects. I would also like to share this year's trophy. It is made out of recycled materials. I love that, super creative. And the Community Foundation has helped with anti-bullying programs in the past, and we would like to continue obtaining these funds since there is a need in our community and our school. We would like to promote citizenship in our community, and the Key Biscayne Community Foundation can help us support this cause. Thank you.
Thank you. Gustavo Tellez.
Mr. Mayor, can I attempt something, perhaps just in the interest of efficiency?
Well, they know you here.
Well, I'm an efficiency freak, and if there are a lot of the speakers that are coming up, because I like to I'm also into action rather than contemplation and discussions, that are supporting the foundation, that perhaps they can waive it and so we can move on? Or
well, but I think there's some who have special causes. I understand, but
I always attempt to.
I appreciate that. Gustavo Tellez.
Afternoon, Gustavo Tellez, 101 Grandon Boulevard.
I'm here tonight as a taxpayer to accomplish two things. First, I read an article on the Icelander News on June 26th of this year that posed a question for taxpayers, and I quote, "If they think there are better ways to be more transparent, they are welcome to come out from underneath the rocks and work with us through this." So I'm here. I have a few ideas about transparency. They're very simple. I think the village manager, or attorney, or the council can answer those questions, public information on the website, and all the questions will really be gone. The first one is very simple for you guys, is just shows the village council determination of the municipal purpose that is served by each program that is supported through the foundation. I think that is really easy. That should be part of the record of previous meetings that I haven't attended. Second, it is my understanding that under Florida law, and I might be mistaken, that's for the attorney and for you, for the council, is that the use of public space by the private entity has to be incidental and doesn't have to interfere with public use. And why I'm bringing this up, the simple reason is that I read in the Icelander News and other outlets that there was a conflict when the council was going to use his offices, they have to use the offices of the foundation. I don't know if that has been corrected, and if it has, it's a wonderful thing. And finally, I think all these issues can be corrected if the village council passes an ordinance or a resolution establishing a municipal code of ethics. Just simply like many of the organizations that are talking here, codify what is the process for the allocation and the use of public funds, and I think all the acrimony can be long gone. That is what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Felix Sabates? Take this for a second. I'll be right back.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Felix Sabates, actually the last E. I'm from Cuba. I'm very proud of being a citizen of the United States. I'm passionate. I thought you guys were not passionate.
I'm sorry, sir. Can you please speak into the mic?
Doctor?
Let me tell you a little bit about 3 minutes.
Yes, sir, but you have to state your name for the record.
I've been here for more than 50 years, 60 years. Wonderful city. A little naive. It's a little city. But one thing is important, is to lower the line. I come from Cuba. I was made a citizen to respect the act of Congress. Why? Because I was educated. I was going to call my book The Reluctant Immigrant. I much rather have been in Cuba. And anyone that questions my honesty and integrity, you get a fight with me. I'm not a lawyer. I have my wife, now I'm 89 years of age. My wife over there, she's a real classic lady. Quietly, she comes over here. This could be a forum for education for the rest of the country. Think of it. This could be an icon, this little town. This is an icon to the rest of the country. The human race, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the deceitful. We were created that way. And the God of all people, God of all people, made it that way. But there is one thing in this country that I admire. It is an execution, like Claudio Castro, no law. Come on, guys. This lady who is very emotional, who is we were to member of the foundation, you want to do the best for the city. I love that. But I have a deal for you. I haven't read the book. I have a book. I'm now, by the way, I'm now a citizen, bona fide resident of Florida. I'm now a member of the Basque Compartment Eye Institute. I just finished having a foundation. The head of the foundation, but he will become a member of this foundation. I had $1 million given by me by one of my students from Pakistan, because there was a great man there. The donor gave me $1 million. And we have the foundation now. The chairman of Basque Compartment will be there. Let's stop wavering around. This is great people. This could be the icon, this little town, icon to the rest of the country. Transparency is important. I'm really upset. They're questioning Ignacio Segurola. Wow, you started something. And I be passionate about you, and I'm not intimidated by anyone. And if you got something against me, call me. And I tell you what, I have a deal for you. Let's have a meeting, a helping meeting. I will donate my books. I'm not selling books. Don't buy from Amazon. I don't care. I have the money. But let me tell you what. In that meeting, let's have a good talk. Let's have a good talk. And out of it will come out strong as a town. And we'll be all over the paper in the United States. I know America better than anyone else. I'm passionate, but don't question the honesty of this man over there. They're sacrificing him, and I'm mad about it. This is what happened in Cuba.
Okay.
Forget about Cuba. Someday we'll get there. But I'm very proud of being a citizen, made a citizen of Special Congress, and I didn't practice here. I built everything back there in New York. You don't know about America. I've been in Brooklyn, New York. You know, when my father's coming, doesn't care. No. So anyway, please, I got to stop here now. Let's do that. That's the deal. And I can tell you, I will match. You only $30, cost me $60. I will match those who buy. I will match the amount I'm donated to the purpose of your foundation.
Thank you, sir. Francis Reeves. Most of the time, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So, how's it different? Francis?
How many more speakers you got?
I got a few.
Hi, Village Council. My name is Frances. It's okay. They don't have to listen. They will sooner or later anyway. My name is Frances Reeves, and I'm from 251 Crandon Boulevard. And honestly, I had this whole presentation, but everybody has said everything I wanted to say about Melissa, except that when I was co-chair with Mary Tague of the Key Biscayne Car Week. First of all, let me thank you all for all your assistance with that, and certainly thank Melissa for that, because we had changed the date so many times. It was one of those very last-minute things, and it was thanks to the foundation that everybody enjoyed that weekend. So thank you, Council, and thank you, Key Biscayne Community Foundation. But the real reason I wanted to come up anyway, in spite of Councilmember Laredo saying, oh, I think we've heard enough, was simply to say that I'm also the president of Ocean Sound Board. And we have never, ever we're members of the Key Biscayne Condominium President's Council, which happened before I became president. But after everything that has gone on, we are now reevaluating that and taking a vote in July, because this happened after our June meeting. But here's what I can say about the Key Biscayne Condominium President's Council. They have never come to us, and we are one of the larger condominiums. We are the largest in Key Colony and one of the largest on Key Biscayne. They have never come to us and asked us for our opinion on what we're doing. And for that reason alone, we're a little upset. Secondly, we have been paying $628 a year for the last 4 years, and through transparency have found that there's no return on investment, none whatsoever. So that is why I really wanted to come up here. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Patricia Peralta. Patricia, you.
Here I go.
Don't hurt yourself.
No, I'm not planning. Thank you.
I don't know how we're going to do this.
I think I have a lot.
Is there a microphone there?
Patricia Peralta, 761 Woodcrest.
Microphone.
And
wait 1 second.
Joan, if Melissa doesn't answer the phone, you can call any one of us. We can get in contact with her. Melissa, after having a tibia broken, 12 screws on my leg 2 months ago, I can tell you, this one is not going to break you. It's gonna make you even stronger, and you're gonna come back. Talking about transparency, what I can tell you is anyone has the right in this country to ask any questions. It's about freedom. My only objection sometimes is the way that is asked and how is it asked. One of the things that I have learned in life is that if you have an issue with someone or with an association, you come to that person first or to that association and try to resolve it and to ask the questions. And if you cannot do it, then you go to the other several steps. I think that this community is about to be so special, and in the way I cannot ask or I cannot talk on behalf of all the different foundations that is under the umbrella of the Key Biscayne Foundation, because I don't support them financially, all of them, but if I find a person that her heart is in that foundation that I'm not supporting, I will guide them. Because one of the things that in Rotary we have learned is to be fair to all concerned. But in the part that I belong, like the community, like the Rotary or the 4th of July, or that I have participated with Chief Press, I don't think he would allow to become part of this foundation if there was no transparency in the money that is spent or the way that is spent. And as a 4th of July committee, I've been in that committee for more than 10 or 13 years, and since passed to the foundation, Melissa has never given any money that has not been fully documented and in the way according to the law and to the statutes and to the village, which sometimes can be even more difficult. So let's talk like a family that we are, that the brothers are fighting and they're not talking, and let's take this lesson even further to make us even better. Thank you.
Thank you. Father Paglada? Father? Sorry, I should have said you're on deck.
Juan Carlos Paguaga, pastor of St. Agnes Catholic Church, and 100 Harbor Drive. Dear Mayor and Council members, and dear family and friends from Key Biscayne. I have decided to write my words because when I don't write what I have to say, I may keep on going for too long, so I would like to be very concise. I was this afternoon, I was disappointed to hear about the situation or the insinuation that have been made that Key Biscayne Community Foundation is not acting transparently regarding funding it received from the village. It's more disappointing to see the pain that is creating all this situation. And I am not here to accuse anybody. I am here just to speak for somebody that I truly trust, and that it has been in many ways, my right hand, guiding me in so many things decisions that I have taken. I have been in Key Biscayne for 5 years and 1 day to be exact. But because my position, the position that I hold, I have been able to get to know a lot of the situations in the community, and also the great benefit that the community foundation, what you guys do is amazing. And not only by what they say, but also what people say. But I have worked with Melissa, Executive Director at Key Biscayne Community Foundation, and my professional relationship with her since I was assigned as pastor to St. Agnes Church has always been a blessing. I had relied always on her wisdom, her knowledge, her sincerity, and common sense have been a gift in all our endeavors and plans. Needless to say that when she speaks of her mind, she does not try to please others or to be popular, but fair and just. And sometimes I am even afraid to ask her questions because I don't know what she's going to say, and she always comes with the truth and with a sincere heart. I would like to finish by saying that one of my favorite religious hymns is let it be peace on earth and let it begin with me. And Key Biscayne is a blessing. Tonight, after being here for more than an hour, I am not only here for the Key Biscayne Community Foundation. I am not only here for Melissa. I'm here for all of you, for each one of you. My job as a priest, as a pastor, even though I know that church and states are separate, but my job is to pray for who we are and that we may find peace. I believe that we can do an amazing job. We're very privileged. I feel privileged to be one of the religious leaders of Key Biscayne. And I pray for you all. I pray for my friends and family behind and all those who are not here tonight. I offer you my prayers, and may this meeting be a blessing to each one of us. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Father. Patricia Romano. Pat, you're up. And then Kathy King's on deck. I don't know where Kathy is.
She had to leave.
Okay, thank you. Then Michelle Estevez, you'll be on deck.
Patricia Romano, 361 Beechwood. Thank you for calling me because I have to push the lady in the wheelchair out. Thank you, all of you, for your service, even if we don't agree all the time, but we can discuss things civilly. Thank you, Melissa. You are a light shining in this town, and we love you. And you know we have your back. I always tell you that. And manager, I hope you have a good experience tonight of what Key Biscayne is all about, because you're going to see a lot of this if you keep your job here. Anyways, I'm in the 4th of July Parade Committee. I'm a Rotarian, and I'm in the Chamber of Commerce, and whatever is needed in the town, I help. And always, the village has been helpful. That's why we incorporated, because before it was a disaster. And Lisa Conway said that she's a newcomer, and that's okay. I was a newcomer too. But the way I integrated in the community was helping, was working with the community. That's the way you do it. And that's the way you make yourself known, not attacking those who have been here before or attacking the council because they're going to pay for the underground or because they're going to give money for this and for that. I'm sorry, but you and I have a few words, and I was really disappointed because it wasn't necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Michelle Estevez with Angela Pedraza on deck.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm going to address myself first as a former council member because I have been there. And Ignacio, I have been in the very, very hot seat. In a council meeting one night, like midnight, I made a motion to fire our manager. And Mr. Stern showed up here in his pajama. Yes, it is. Remember that? 100 other people. Yes. Marta Bruchet and yes, 100 other people start coming. I realized that my motion was second and I have the support. We discussed it, but what I did next day, Councilman Lorente, you were there too. I called our village attorney and I asked for a meeting with the manager. We met at the office, we discussed our differences. I asked the straight question why I was given the incorrect information for such important meeting that we are making some large expenditures. He gave me the explanation that was too in a hurry at the last meeting that I asked the question and he didn't realize. And he made me that night look like a fool. That's why I was upset, but it was wrong. At the next council meeting, the first thing that I asked our mayor was to let me have the floor. I explained the reason. I apologized in public. Again, I have a room full with people. I apologize straight to Mr. Stearns and everybody else, and I apologized to the manager. The manager apologized to me and was no more discussion ever. that is the right thing to do, that we recognize. I think that you didn't mean anything wrong to ask the question, but in the way that was asked was the mistake that I did. I know you mean well. I supported you and I voted for you because I believe in you. I know that you are a good council member and a good citizen. But there are ways that we have to do certain things. I had many problems with many departments when I was on the council. And I learned on the hard way that not to just go to a council meeting and just explode. So you have to take the time, you have to meet. If you don't get response, then you just express that you did not get any response and you are not voted for. I know you did not have this the bad intentions, and I know you have nothing against Melissa. Nobody have something against Melissa, and Melissa doesn't have to defend himself. Like you, the same thing. If you doesn't want to give funding to an organization and find a way how the village will transfer those funds, do it. I guess the council have to decide. But I had been there, and an apology and move on. I think that nobody will be here at the next meeting, and everybody will move on. With that said, I want to call my 4th of July Parade Committee members, because we are a committee that we work very hard, and I would like to give a little history. I am one of the longest members in the committee, and I live on the island for 40 years.
59.
Okay? So we are here because of the village
and the foundation.
Funding through the foundation, because I came many years ago as the treasurer of the parade committee that we couldn't handle anymore. We were running out of funds and was no way for us to continue to deliver a parade, and they have to be transferred to the village. I remember the village attorney said at the time that the village cannot give funds to organizations like us. And I recognize I was a treasurer when nobody wants to handle the job, and I didn't know that we were 501c3. I didn't renew it. We lost it. So we didn't have other way to come to the council. But when our legal attorney gave that advice, there we go. Who is the one who saved many organizations at the village? The foundation. So I know the foundation, the money that we don't raise, if the parade costs $50,000 and we raised 30, I came to the council and I said, we need $35,000 in the budget for us to continue to deliver the parade. And that's the way that was done. Okay? And I thank the village for continue to funding the parade, because this year we are celebrating our 60 years and we are proud to do it, and we work hard. If there are other ways that Councilmember Segurola and the council agreed to do it and take the village, the parade, do it. But I think the foundation has been done good to the community. If somebody have more questions, I think they need to be asked direct. And I know you have tried, and I know Melissa, I know you have nothing against Melissa. But for us, for the parade, we will continue to deliver a parade. And thank you to the foundation right now. That is the only way that we can deliver a parade. We will continue to work with the foundation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Happy 4th.
Happy 4th. Angela Pedraza, please. 3 more.
Good evening or good night to everyone. And I would like to, first of all, thank everyone. I want to thank you, Mayor, all council members, and the foundation. Not just Melissa, all the members that are volunteers.
I apologize, your name and address, please.
Oh, sorry. Angela Pedraza, 881 Ocean Drive, apartment 11G. So, do I start again?
No, we got you. We got you.
Okay. So I wanted to thank all of you, because there's not an easy way to do this. It's government, you're volunteers, and you are subject to scrutiny from everyone. Likewise, it's happening with the foundation. The way I saw it, I guess, is what I can share here, is I saw a request, a very honest request for accurate disclosure. And to me, there is absolutely nothing wrong with asking for accurate disclosure. I never interpreted this as an accusation of wrongdoing to anybody. No. It would be good if the council could present themselves as a united front, supporting transparency. There is nothing wrong with transparency. And in fact, when there is a reaction that is a negative reaction against transparency, that makes some people wonder why that happens. So I would say that it would be a good idea if we can back up transparency. That's basically what I have to say. I would like to thank you all. And I think that the aggressive reaction that is being taken over an honest question for having accurate disclosure and transparency is just taken out of proportion. And we may want to thank social media and the disparagement that happens when one person replies to another comment that is not necessarily accurate, and that creates a very dangerous chain. You guys are in power to be able to control this situation. You present a united front back in transparency, and this should be over.
Thank you.
So thank you so much.
Rosa Kemper. Rosa? Oh. There you are, right in front of me.
Hello, my name is Rosa Kemper, and I live in 774 Fernwood Road. I'm here today to say thank you to all of you, including Mr. Segurola. I think this has brought us all together to make us stronger. I don't have anything, I didn't write anything, it was like a last minute. So I just wanted to say that my husband was Robert Kemper. He was very devoted to this community, as all of us know. And I thought, oh my gosh, he works day and night. He is so in love with this community, until I met Melissa White. I've known Melissa since she was a little girl working at Coldwell Banker, and I literally watched her grow into a beautiful woman, mother, and person. And all throughout that time, she got married, she had a ton of babies, and she still worked day and night. And the other day, I am blessed to have her as one of the guides for the Robert Kemper Excellence for Medicine Award. When Dr. Roth came to me and asked me that he wanted to make a foundation for to benefit medical students graduating from FIU, he had the support of FIU, but he wanted somehow to tie it into the rib off. And we were sitting there scratching our heads, how are we going to do this? I don't know. Well, bling, Melissa White. Who else? So Melissa seems to be the one person in this community that when anybody has a problem and they can't solve it, who do they go to? Melissa White. And not only she embraces you, she's unbelievably knowledgeable, and she gives her heart and soul to this community. We can all agree on something. When I moved here in the 90s, this village did not look pretty. We can all agree that our government has done amazing things, and that our government has spent money on things that are, in my humble opinion, are not as useful as like this pond over here, the pink pond that does nothing, or the artwork. That's my humble opinion. I'm just saying. So what I'm trying to get at is that the Key Biscayne Community Foundation is really something that does so much for this community, you know, in comparison to other things that we spend our money on. I have this little lighthouse here. And when we walk around this village, we can say there are a lot of things that makes this village look very pretty and very beautiful to live in. But I would say that Melissa is truly the shining beacon in this village that makes us all shine.
Thank you, Rosa.
Thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you. Debbie Wanikoff, please. And then Susie Westfall, you're coming up next.
Debbie Wanikoff, 255 West Heather Drive. I would just like to say that the Key Biscayne Community Foundation and Chief Press saved lives. My family's mission for road safety moved a step further yesterday. Texting while driving became a primary offense in the state of Florida. Beginning in October, it will be hands-free in school zones and work zones. And it's through Melissa and the efforts of the Key Biscayne Community Foundation, through her sponsorship of my talks, now through a big awareness campaign, that people know, yes, this is a law. And so I really credit Melissa and the foundation and Chief Press for saving lives. And I thank you for your vision, your action, and your love of the people of Key Biscayne. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Susie? Susie's our last speaker of the evening. I saved the best for last. Oh, you want, I'm sorry. No, Jennifer Buttrick is the last speaker. I apologize. You did put your name in. I thought, oh, never mind.
I know, it's true.
Administrative error. You're second to last.
Then I'm not
You got
going.
bumped up.
Am I speaking in the right thing?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Susie Westfall, 525 Allendale Road, Key Biscayne, 40 years. Here. I was actually going to try to open with a joke, which was about Gilda Radner. And if you remember Saturday Night Live, Gilda Radner had a character. And somebody would have said something, 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 and she would come on as Emily Latilla. And she would say, "What is this about Soviet jewelry?" And it was, what? What? Emily, weren't you listening? And a lot of what this is about today is about listening. And it's also about mixing up communications. And now, tragically, it is about, well, people sort of getting out of their own way if they will or they won't. I want to say to Luis Laredo, my friend over there, you were never going to stop any of this tonight, okay? As a playwright, I have to tell you, the storytelling today has been fabulous, and you're alive to hear it, Melissa. And we're very glad that you are, because the truth is, you guys, as the wife of a former council member, councils come and go. And managers come and go. But the good news for all of us is this young woman who has been growing up in front of many of our eyes is the rock who other community foundations around the country actually know a lot about. And that's what I want to speak about. Our community is a very interesting place to live. There's a lot of characters who live here. And we all have something to say. And we all want to hear what we want to hear. And sometimes we don't want to hear what we don't want to hear. So the good news is everybody can find Melissa's ear. And when you guys are busy, which you are volunteers. And when your staff is busy, because there's not a lot of them, but they sure do handle a lot, then the opportunity to actually have a resource available to this community, like the foundation, is kind of the perfect partnership. Now, Melissa and I have a mutual friend who does her books, and you know what? They're done very well. I know that because he works a lot on them. we have here an opportunity to make the lemonade, as somebody else spoke about, and that would be to go forward, because if I was unaware of how much good the foundation does in partnership with the village for this community, trust me, I have no doubts now. It's remarkable. We are blessed. That would be true. So, although you can hide among chats and say terrible things about each other, I've lived as the spouse of the Nazi. And I can say I've gotten through that too, and my family has. So thank you for this opportunity today, all of you, for having this forum for our community to come forward and share some words, and to thank someone who probably doesn't know exactly how grateful this community is for her and her staff, and for the opportunities that the foundation provides. Because of the foundation, I get to give money to organizations and such that I would not have known about otherwise to support, because our community is a giving community in many ways. But it also looks out for everybody here. And you all have been voted in by all of us to do the right things and to listen to each other and to listen to us. And it would be a mature thing to do to just give a warm round of applause from up there to your own community, because we love you. Okay? So to you.
Thank you.
And to you.
Thank you, Susie. Jennifer? Apologies.
Jennifer Stearns Buttrick, 180 Cape Florida Drive. I've lived on Key Biscayne for 47 years. I heard something tonight that was interesting, talking about newcomers and old timers. The Key Biscayne Community Foundation is a newcomer. It was founded in 2004. It had a rocky start. Chief Press and I tried to engage the Key Biscayne Community Foundation many years ago with his Christmas for the kids in Liberty City, and they said no. So we had to go to Miami Beach. Wasn't that correct? Okay. Melissa, when did you start at the foundation? I can't remember. 2010. So Melissa started at the Key Biscayne Community Foundation in 2010. And she transformed it, and she transformed this community. She made us donors, she made us philanthropists, she made us activists, and she showed us what we can do together. And what she has accomplished is extraordinary. But she's a newcomer. I don't do well with microphones. And I was trying to think of stories to tell tonight about some of the things that the foundation has done, and it's really endless. And I had a hard time picking one, but I'm going to start with one. After Parkland, we were devastated, and there were some of us who decided to come together and have a vigil. And, we had some ideas, but we didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to, so we called Melissa. And Melissa said, it's done. I'm taking care of the village. I got the podium. I got lights. I got the microphone. it was like, you guys just get the speakers. I got everything else. And she did. Melissa got everything else herself. And what came together for the Parkland Vigil was beautiful. It was sad that we had to do it, and I'm devastated that we did, but it was a beautiful community event that we could not have done as we did it without Melissa. Melissa does the work of 3 people, and the reason that we're all upset tonight is not because there was a question asked. Let's be clear. There's nothing wrong with asking questions and asking for transparency. The problem is that the foundation is transparent. I've seen the invoices, I've seen the documents, there's backup for every single payment. The documents are voluminous and they're available. The problem is that Councilmember Segurola came in this forum and made accusations without doing the backup. You have an obligation when you decide to run for council, and I'm really glad that you're all serving, but you chose to serve, and with it comes a duty. And it's a duty to do due diligence and to do some investigation before you make accusations. I've watched the video numerous times, and I'm sorry, it was an assault on the foundation. And I'd like to briefly address something I forgot to do in my prior presentation, which was the document request that Mr. Segurola brought up. I did, on behalf of the foundation, submit a request, a public records request, and it was the communications that Councilmember Segurola has had about the foundation. That's what I asked for. We were wondering where this came from. I haven't received those documents yet. I do not think that our request for documents looks anything like his, but I'm certainly a reasonable attorney and a reasonable person, and I'm willing to figure something out if that caused the onslaught. One more thing. The pain that this has caused Melissa is inexcusable. It's inexcusable. But we've learned something. The next time someone's running for council, I'm going to ask them a question, and it's going to be, what's your relationship with the Key Biscayne Community Foundation? And if you don't have one, you don't get my vote.
Okay. We're going to move on to discussion.
Can I,
we have a,
hold on.
maybe before he speaks, or you want to speak first?
I'd like it. Can we have a bathroom break before?
Certainly. We'll take a 2-minute break.
Okay.
3-minute break?
5-minute break, 2-minute break?
3-minute break. 3-minute break.
We're going to lose audience, I think.
We may lose some audience.
Okay.
What's wrong with that?
This is a mistake, this break.
We asked for a break and then give it to her.
We all get up and go to the bathroom.
I'm going to make a motion. I can't tell you what.
Pizza got cold.
She got what?
Pizza got cold.
No, do not go home. I want.
He's got
I know. Ed.
It's amazing that he's here.
I'll make the motion as soon as we get back.
But look,
So, Susan, now Susan has this thing, I'll make the motion, everybody can still discuss, but I want to make the motion.
okay?
This principle of math
Yeah, that's what bothers
and I said something that Steve Swain about it as well. I think that it should be all over. It's all about meat culture. It's all
But Tony really wants this to be neat. And if we're going to have policy. So let me coordinate with the day and see.
Very frustrating. You know, I've said things, I said something to Andy about Mr. London, if you wouldn't mind.
Stop it now.
Dishonorable.
I am not anymore. Ever again.
Where are you going? Get Brett. Where's Brett? Oh, did you see Brett in the bathroom? Huh? Oh, there he is. Okay. Okay. You ready? We're back. We're going to have a little discussion. Councilmember Cigarrola, I promised you could go first, so please, your time.
Well, thank you, everyone. I definitely have heard a lot tonight over the last 2.5 hours. I started out here on Key Biscayne about 20.5 years ago. Here is where I got married, and I had kids, and those kids grew up. And over the years, I came to really appreciate this place for what it is. In 2016, I opened up the Islander News one day, and I saw that there was an ad saying, hey, if you want to run for council, sign up on this date. And I figured, hey, I'd like to do something, put something back for this community. I think I have a certain set of skills, certain set of abilities that maybe I can do some good. I signed up, I ran, I was an unknown, but I guess I made a good enough impression that a lot of people in this room asked me to stay involved and run again. In 2018, I ran again, and a lot of the same people in this room supported me, and I won the election. I was one of 3, and here I am. I do not take my position as an elected council member for this village lightly. My understanding of my position is I have a fiduciary duty not to any one particular group of people or other. I have a fiduciary duty to the 7,000 plus registered voters of Key Biscayne and 13,000 plus residents and taxpayers. Now, as a lawyer, that term, fiduciary duty, carries a whole lot of weight because it means that I have to use all of my abilities to make sure that the money that I have 1 of 7 votes in managing is used properly for the benefit of the Key Biscayne residents and taxpayers. Now, I think whoever is an attorney and has served on council, like the mayor, like Councilmember Laredo, like other previous council members, they carry an even higher burden because not only is the responsibility to the residents and taxpayers of Key Biscayne, but there's also the Florida Bar. Any mistake I make up here, even though I'm doing community service, the Florida Bar also watches. And that affects my livelihood, my license, and my real job, not the one I actually get paid for, not this one, outside of this chamber. So for me, my fiduciary duty to all of Key Biscayne, every single person here, I do not carry that lightly at all. That is why I believe it is my responsibility to ask the hard questions, even though they're not popular or in vogue, or they just simply haven't occurred to anyone else. I understand that there's a long line of distinguished council members and mayors that came before me. But today, I'm the one here now, and I'm the one whose fiduciary duty is on the line. Now, before today's presentation, I had absolutely no doubt about the importance of the foundation to Key Biscayne. The Key Biscayne Community Foundation, they're right up there on the screen, they run deep in Key Biscayne, and they're involved in everything, and they have a lot of supporters, and they have a lot of supporters with deep pockets, and a lot of supporters with not so deep pockets, and they've helped a lot of people, and they have a lot of activities, and they've been doing it for a very, very long time. I have absolutely no problem with that. I have never challenged the quality or the quantity of the work of the Community Foundation. They are a charity. Whoever wants to give money to them, great. You're making the world a better place. Prior to this meeting, this weekend, when I saw how things were escalating, I reached out to Melissa McCon White. If it's okay with you, I will call you Melissa or Mrs. McCon White. I reached out to Melissa and I said, Melissa, I would like to talk. She agreed to immediately, and we agreed to meet yesterday afternoon. A few hours before our meeting, Melissa informed me that she was advised by her board of directors to not meet with me alone. Perfectly fine. I told her I would really prefer if it was just the two of us, but I understood perfectly. She told me that she would be accompanied by either Dr. Mendia or Ms. Jennifer Stearns-Buttrick. I agreed. I showed up. When I showed up, it was Melissa, Ms. Jennifer Stearns-Buttrick, Dr. Mendia, and Mr. Gene Stearns. We met for about an hour yesterday. It was not a very fruitful discussion. I will tell you the message I told them as part of what I'm going to say, but the most important part I want to say right now is at that meeting, I looked Melissa in the eye and I told Melissa, whatever I said on the dais, on the day of the budget workshop, my only concern was transparency and accounting. I did not mean anything personal. It was not a personal attack. And I did not mean to insult you or hurt your feelings in any way. Now, tonight, in front of everyone, including all the supporters of the foundation, I will repeat. What I said 2 weeks ago at the budget workshop, I did not question then, nor do I question now, the quality and the quantity of the charitable works the foundation does. If anything that I said was interpreted that way, believe me, that was not my intention. And I apologize for any hurt feelings. Now, what did I say 2 weeks ago? We were presented with a very limited amount of information. The manager made a presentation where literally the only numbers in front of us were 2% of the budget. We were discussing potentially $700,000 out of $34 million. I think that comes out to almost exactly 2%. So we weren't really dealing with the real important part of the budget. But because those were the only numbers in front of us, that is what I spoke about. Now, before there's a meeting, the manager meets with each member of council and they review the information that's going to be discussed, sometimes more than once. As we were going towards the budget process and working towards the budget workshop, I asked certain information of the manager. The information I asked of the manager, which was honestly limited to the requests made by the community groups, was focused around the community groups. As has been said many times, and I've said myself, it's my first year up here, but I'm trying to do the best job possible and really analyze what it is I'm doing. I believe if I'm going to vote, I have to know what the heck I'm voting about, and I have to investigate it. Now, as we work towards the meeting, I requested from the manager information on the money that flowed from the village to community groups, including the foundation. That was maybe 2 weeks before the budget workshop meeting. I again met with the manager the day before the budget workshop meeting in the morning, and as we were discussing the numbers, she pulled out, and I have a copy here, a total of four pages. 4 pages which said the amount of money paid to the foundation over the past 3 fiscal years. Now these ledgers, all they say is a date, an amount, and payable to the foundation. I was concerned. I said, well, where's the other information? How do we know what these funds are for? Her response to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, was, we're still looking, those are not scanned into the computer, they're in boxes, we have to pull that. And I asked, well, there's no QuickBooks or anything that says that you can just give me now? And she said, no, we have to investigate that. We come to the budget workshop meeting, and I raised the concerns that I raised. Again, I stand by those concerns. I did not question the type of work or the value of the work that the foundation did. My only concerns were with the accounting and the transparency, which from what I'm seeing is quite lacking, at least from what I've seen so far. I made the comments that I did. Actually, I made the comments that I did about the foundation, but then when the vice mayor, who's not here now, brought it up that it applies to the Chamber of Commerce, said this actually applies to every group that's asking for money from the village. So even though this presentation tonight, we're focusing only on the foundation, my concerns extend to every single group that receives money from the village. Now, I want to clarify, I'm not saying those funds are inappropriate or shouldn't be paid or not worthwhile. I'm saying that if we're going to give money, that needs to be documented, it has to be transparent, and it has to be in a form that it's available at the village so that if anyone goes down to the village and says, hi, I want to see X record, it is available at the village. Why? The foundation is not the village. The foundation is not the government. The foundation's a private entity. They don't have any obligation to give any of that information to anyone, and nor would I expect anyone to be able to walk to the foundation's offices and request that information and get it. That's why the government is here. Now, I would like to make a blanket statement. And I thought I had made this clear because I said it and I heard myself say it in the video 2 weeks ago, but I'll repeat it again. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm not saying anything is being done wrong in terms of money not being used the way it's supposed to. My concern is with the accounting and the transparency so that it's available to the residents, the taxpayers, and the registered voters. I did make one very big mistake, which I realize now, and I apologize for it, and I'll tell you what it is now. My mistake was that what I recounted at the last meeting was based on a series of conversations that I had with the manager. And I just spoke about the information that I had received. I did not have any of that in writing. That is a mistake I will not make again, I can guarantee you. Now, I would like to publicly clear the air about the information the village does not, and has yet to locate regarding the funds that flow from the village to the community groups. Not wanting to make the same mistake again as the last meeting, last Thursday, I sent an email to the manager. And in that email, in an overabundance of caution, and to be crystal clear, I requested I asked questions and requested documents in 41 different categories. This is a list that I created because I believed it's the kind of information that, number one, the village should have at hand, and number two, the kind of information that would be necessary for us, the council, to see in our own hands, not here secondhand, but for us to see, that would clear the air of any concerns regarding funds flowing to community groups. Now, I've sat here for 2.5 hours listening. I hope you indulge me in talking to the mayor, which I've had this conversation with her before, and, I'm sorry, mayor, sorry, manager, sorry. I think everyone knew. I mean the manager. And I would like to ask the questions, Madam Manager, just so everyone knows how much information we have or don't have. Is that all right?
I really, Mr. Mayor,
hold on.
You asked for us to make statements.
No,
Are we gonna? We are in a trial here, or
No,
Look, hold on, guys, hold on. I'm chairing this meeting. I think we've been through this. I'm not going to rehash through the questions.
I disagree, Mr. Mayor.
Right, then that's fine.
I have
this
listened
is not the time.
for 2.5 hours about how I did not do my due diligence before I showed up to a meeting 2 weeks ago, and I want to publicly explain to the entire public just exactly what due diligence I have done and what information I'm waiting for. And I believe I have that right. I've been here for 2.5 hours.
So have we, sir. So have we, sir.
I didn't call for this meeting.
Councilmember Laredo, please. I think I understand what you're trying to get at the base. This is not the form that we're going to go through everything the foundation has done.
No, this is not number one, yes, because I've heard 2.5 hours of presentations of the wonderful work the foundation does, which I agree with.
Okay.
But we haven't talked about the numbers. I'm talking about the numbers because that is my concern. Now, if I'm going to be able to defend myself from the group that was arranged here for an emergency meeting, I believe I should be given the opportunity to tell the public just how much or how little information there is.
First of all, the presentation was intended to show just exactly what this village, the relationship
and my
between
presentation
the village.
is to show why I said what I said 2 weeks ago, and I believe I should be given that courtesy. If not, this is a farce.
Well, I think your friends have already suggested that.
Now,
so, okay. To the mayor,
Madam Manager.
To the manager.
Question number one, and we recently learned the answer to this one. Does there exist any type of executed agreement between the village and the Key Biscayne Community Foundation? If so, please provide me with a copy. 2 weeks ago, I believe it was Councilmember Petros that said, yes, that there in fact was an executed agreement. Correct? If you recall from that meeting?
So through the chair, I'll say that coming into this meeting, I was very hopeful that we would all come to the conclusion that transparency and accountability is absolutely something we're all working towards.
That was never an issue coming into this meeting. Let's be clear with that. That's always been. And I think that's one of the suggestions that's being made, that we are not trying to be transparent. I've served on this council for over 8 years. And no, because your friend here was making suggestions that there's some sort of innuendo and things going on. But to be clear, there's always been transparency. That's never been an issue before this council. It's always been the goal. We want efficient government. We want transparent government. So I just want to make that statement.
Okay. I'll change my question just to go to the point. Madam Manager, I am correct in saying there is no executed contract between the village and the foundation today, correct?
So through the chair, I have not been able to go through the request. I wasn't aware of the meeting when it was initially requested, but I will happily, if it's the will of the council, take some time to go through and provide answers. I can happily do that.
That's perfectly fine, to be determined, and we have all summer long to get to that. Now, however, I have in my hand the minutes from the meeting from September 1st, 2015, regular council meeting, where on page 3 of 5, it was discussed a resolution presented by Manager Gilbert, where a contract was presented with a resolution to the village for execution between the village and the community foundation. Page 3 of that, the minute says, Vice Mayor Kaplan made a motion to approve the resolution. Motion was seconded by Councilmember Kelly. The manager addressed the council recommending approval of the agreement between the Village of Key Biscayne and the Key Biscayne Community Foundation. There was extensive discussion regarding this agreement. The attorney addressed the council regarding this resolution, stating that this resolution is not needed at this time. The motion to approve the resolution was withdrawn. It was the consensus of the council to direct the village attorney to bring back an agreement with the Key Biscayne Foundation for approval at a later date. Now, I have not found any other mention of an agreement between the council, the village, and the Key Biscayne Foundation.
I think the manager said she's going to be looking into that.
That's perfectly fine. I look forward to that response. Now, question number 2. Is there any type of, this is question number 3. Is there any type of executed agreement between the Village of Key Biscayne and any other community group?
Asked and answered. Am I going to sit up here and do a deposition with you? I mean, come on,
yes.
Let's move on.
Now, Madam Manager, I believe you told me that there is in fact an agreement with the Chamber of Commerce, correct?
There is an agreement with the Chamber of Commerce. We've circulated that,
right.
Yes.
I haven't gotten a copy of it yet. When did you circulate it?
So the records are through the clerk's office, and we can resend it if you didn't get it.
Okay, I did not get that. But okay, so there is a precedent for that. Now,
sorry.
Now, there's a long list. I'm going to skip over because many of those I think we just answered. Now, question number 9. Does there exist any sort of financial reports from the Key Biscayne Community Foundation to the Village of Key Biscayne? If so, please provide me with copies. Now, to date, you have not provided me with copies, correct?
Correct.
At the meeting 2 weeks ago, I asked for copies, correct?
I do not recall, but
okay.
We will provide whatever
we have all summer. We have
necessary.
all summer to look for those, correct?
We will provide everything that we have, absolutely.
Now, going back to the resolution from September 1st, 2015, just for the record, since we're creating a record here, the memorandum signed by then Manager Gilbert had attached a letter from the foundation where it said that the foundation was going to do 8 different things and was going to submit status reports on a quarterly basis. Now, granted, this agreement apparently, as far as we know, was never signed, but it appears that the parties worked in the spirit of this agreement since then. So That's another piece of information. Now,
I don't know what to tell you.
the other questions 10 also asks for any financial reports from other groups. I look forward to seeing those responses. Is it fair to say that you have not had the time to find any of the documents in the 41 things that I requested?
Councilmember, I've been pretty busy with some of the
I
priorities,
understand.
so I have not.
I understand. I just want the answer is yes. Correct. You have not in the last 2 weeks. In the last 2 weeks, while you've been busy with certain other things going on in the village, you have not had time to find this. Correct?
Through the chair, I assure you, we will put together all the documentations. We are working on putting an agreement in place and implementing the systems and the controls to fully meet the council and the community's expectations. And I trust in the staff, I trust in the council and the feedback we've been getting, and we will get you to the place where you feel comfortable. Please allow us to do that.
Okay. My point is, I have requested this information, and it has not been provided yet. That's my point. I'm not inventing things. I'm not making statements without a basis. I requested the information and it has not been provided. To be honest, this meeting today I saw as kind of pointless because I knew you were going to need the entire summer at the least to come up with this information, because this asks for a lot of detailed information, invoices, forms, so on and so on. Now,
yeah. And let me just be clear. The Community Foundation, after what you said 2 weeks ago in that meeting, after you went after them and said that
I did not go after them.
I
did not go after them. I disagree.
After you said that the foundation, and I'm paraphrasing, completely negates transparency on behalf of the village, that the relationship completely negates transparency on behalf of the village and the taxpayers. All the things the foundation is asking to do are things the village should be doing, should not be handed over to the foundation. Acting as a third-party administrator for the village funds and taxpayer funds, that's just wrong. That's bad policy. Additional problems. Accounting of dollars for the foundation is given. Foundations. There were accusations, and I said at the time they were insinuations of bad acts. No. Look, Ignacio, this is what happened. What you were saying that night, and I think a number of us explained to you our position that it was. Look, I'm just trying to explain to you what was going on. Okay, we have to, again,
I understand what was going on.
But no, hold on. No, because this is not in a vacuum, okay? There was a prior council member who made similar attacks against the Community Foundation. We know who that person was. I'm not going to state the name. We had a chat that then blew up.
Excuse me.
Well, no, hold on. So this isn't in a vacuum. You had a chat that blew up and was attacking Melissa White, was attacking Ed London, was attacking Gary Gross about things. So this isn't in a vacuum. You can't say that your statements are completely... I understand your need for transparency, and that's respectable. But what happened here was an attack on the foundation. You may have not.
I disagree.
That's fine, but I'm telling you how it was perceived.
Okay, the problem is,
by the community at large, that's how it was perceived. That's
I have spoken to a lot of people, and in my opinion, that's neither here nor there. The whole point is, at the very end of the day, any shortcoming in accounting is not the foundation's fault. It's the village's fault. If there's any documentation that the foundation has given to the village and was lost or can't be located or it takes time to get, that is the village's fault. That is my problem. My problem is not with the foundation. My problem is with the accounting and the transparency of the village.
The problem is it didn't come out that way, frankly.
Well, that is exactly...
No, guys, please. It didn't come out that way. And frankly, there were certain people, one of whom spoke today, who used it. And come on. Are you kidding me? and I would like you to actually come out, that there was a problem with the chat where you then got into a chat and started making fun of somebody posting Jennifer Buttrick's thing on the.
I did not make fun of someone
You
posting
said
anything.
LOL.
Yes.
They are literally taking something Jennifer Buttrick wrote and posting it on their chat.
Yes,
So
that
you
is
posted that
absolutely true.
and then said that was an accident. What
I
I'm saying
did.
is, but that
And there was
creates a
a long
perception. Do you
explanation,
not
Jennifer.
understand that it was an attack?
No.
May I?
I'm sorry. Brett's going to speak,
and I've been asking. Yes, thank you, sir.
No, I let Brett, then Luis.
Yes,
then
sir.
This is definitely one of the most awkward and odd meetings I think I'll ever be at. And I'm still trying to define what a newcomer is, because I am a newcomer and I know a lot of newcomers, and I don't think anybody really believes what a lot of these negativity things are happening in these chats. So we'll try to see what they meant by newcomer. Gene, I agree with you. I don't think the foundation needs defending at all. Gary, Ed, Councilmember London, I agree with you guys that the village benefits much more from this relationship than the foundation. And my biggest worry, and I think it's the worst case scenario, if we lose this relationship, because I think this is very important for us to be involved in our community and our community boards, because this is what makes Key Biscayne Key Biscayne. The issue tonight is not transparency. And I think almost everybody has said it. We're all for transparency. And if there is an issue, it will be addressed. But the real issue is the action that is coming from the dais. That for me is the most important thing. I think the duty of elected officials came up a few times. And I think I agree. We look out for the taxpayers' money. It's one of our duties. We ask tough questions. I agree with that. I think we set good policies for our community to lead us into the future. But what is not acceptable is careless and reckless that can come from the dais. And this goes for all of us. Careless in that we don't take the time to do our due diligence and really find out what is going on with the issue. And reckless is coming up here and speaking from the dais before you actually understand what is occurring. What our duty is to know the facts first, see if there is an issue or maybe not an issue, work with the groups or whoever we're working with and the manager to see if we can work out and resolve the issue. Many times, most of us have done that, and it never even makes it to the dais. It never comes in front of here, and it doesn't need to. And I don't think this one needed to come in front of the dais. I think we could have worked any issues if there was an issue with the manager, and it could have been resolved, and things could be more accessible if they needed to be. So, for me, it took 27 years to build this wonderful community, and this was built for the newcomers. And I will protect this community relentlessly against anyone who wants to wreck what we have built, especially for our children, and especially if it's just to save a few tax dollars. Ensuring our money is well spent, the foundation is a prime example of money well spent. We do back transparency, and I hope we can work all together and to move this community forward and get away from this negativity. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Councilmember Laredo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What could be worse than having my beautiful, smart girlfriend, Tina, my love, watch me on TV and text me to keep calm. And if that was not bad enough, my spiritual leader, Father Juan Carlos, came today, and I was moving in the direction of tranquility, forgiveness, compassion. But there are some things, and I want to have a question that I just, and I thought in total, almost everybody who spoke, by the way, this is not about Melissa. This is about the foundation and hundreds of people who donate, work. This community is divided fundamentally into doers and complainers, but more importantly, which I will say, destructive people. Yeah. Destructive people who operate under a well-established methodology, which a lot of those of us who have lived under dictatorship see it as a pattern, whether you come from Cuba or from Venezuela. The 4 Ds, disinformation, and the council has been sick of me telling you this 6 months ago. I started talking about this. Divide. Today I heard a new one. How many are the years? I mean, it's about 4 litmus tests. You live on the condominiums. When Gene and I worked, I was on the charter committee. We fought hard to make sure that we had no districts because we were all in the same boat. So divide, they've been doing even today, because this is surprising. Every day I learn a new one. Now you all who are here more than, or less than over 30 years, you're disqualified to be engaged. Discredit, the third D, which is, of course, what we've been witnesses. And then the last one, and the most effective one, is destroy. And to use the openness and goodwill of democracy by a small group of people to undermine faith. We have all witnessed it in our country. No matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, there was foreign intervention in our 2016 election. And there will be, folks, again in 2020. This is the new methodology. I can see it. Part of my life I devoted to foreign policy, and I'd be damned if I let it contaminate Key Biscayne. And so this is not just an isolated case. This is a pattern of people who work in the darkness, in the shadows, putting out disinformation. And the tragedy of it is that they roll in people, good people, like some of them who spoke here, whom I know for many years, who have the right heart, the right intentions. They get engulfed in this, I hate to say it, but conspiracy. So while I try to keep as calm, I hope Tina can forgive me. And Father, I couldn't let it go of that. And so I will now move to ask just one brief question, which hopefully can be a yes or no, because I was actually shocked. Today I've had 2 shocks. I have my rosary with me. Some of you do not know that when you're referring to a request for public records was not the one that the councilman asked her 47 question, one that came in this morning that enlisted everything in our private life, us, from Councilman Segurola asking for not only about this issue, but about undergrounding, who we talked to, our public records. That was enough. I did take my little meditation, and I was being true to Tina. And I think I heard you, and please answer me yes or no, earlier when counsel got up, that as a normal attorney for an organization, not for a council, asked for a public records, you reprimanded, your reaction was to loop us in. Incredible. Did you not say that earlier today?
Yes, I did.
You did. So you, in your mind, an attorney representing an entity asking for some sort of discovery, your answer was to ask for discovery on your colleagues, elected colleagues, on our whole period, private emails, everything else. Do you think that's inappropriate? So, but I guess you did do it, right?
Yes, I did.
So I apologize. I don't need to comment anymore. That's what you did, sir.
Everything should be out in the sunshine.
Yeah. So no. Everything is in the sunshine for me, and everything in the sunshine for everybody here. The 6 colleagues that, just like you, ran for office, and not the little cowards that hide in the democracy, little shadows undermining it. If they have any, which they don't because they're cowards, they participate in the process, you see? And unfortunately, you've been a pawn to that conspiracy. And those of you, I beg you to forgive me. Some of you who are blessed to have been born in the greatest country in the history of civilization do not perhaps think I'm crazy. But trust me that those of us who are doubly blessed to have come here from dictatorship have lived it. And we can feel it. And in this case, by coincidence, my career has led me in U.S. foreign policy to deal with these bad people. And they are working against us. We cannot fix the country, but I can certainly, and I will be active at that level, but I can certainly start right here in this little community. Because, by the way, in 2016, they started with little communities in Western Ohio, Western Pennsylvania, Michigan, et cetera. So you think this is a myth because Laredo is a little crazy? Trust me, this is reality, and it's coming to us. And I, Mr. Segurola, who had such great hopes for you today, I think most of the people who spoke for the foundation really actually opened the door for reconciliation, for forgiveness, and yet you take the microphone and you turn this again into a trial. I guess, and to us personally, I can't speak to my other 7, it was in all of my life in public service and private sector. So I want you to hear this, because state, local, and federal have ever been so attacked on integrity by a colleague. It's on. You ought to see the reply. And he's admitted that he did it exclusively to get at the attorney of a private entity.
No, that's not. I did not say that.
Well, you said
I did not say that.
Oh, now you're changing your answer.
No, I'm not saying. I didn't do it to get at her.
Well, because you filed a request of, I can't even understand your logic. So because you had a problem with her request, you filed a very broad filing of request of public records for all of your colleagues, for all of their stuff. So tell me how you connected the two. Are we conspiring?
Because I found it intriguing how of all the records that were requested, I was the only one.
Because, sir, forgive me, I know that you are the issue in this thing. You are the one who's created this thing. How, in what logic, in what moral compass, can you loop us in as if we were criminals or conspirators to something? I think, sir, it is wrong.
I cannot imagine any other municipality in Miami-Dade County where an elected official gets attacked for asking for more transparency and accountability for taxpayer funds.
You're assuming that we're not for transparency. You keep talking
I have asked questions. I have not accused anyone of anything.
You just asked us. You have offended us 6 of your colleagues because you were uncomfortable with what she rightfully asked, and you said, well, we're going to investigate all the council members. Listen, I don't speak English too well, but maybe in Spanish. I don't understand your connection. I really logically don't understand where your mind is. What led you to loop us in as if from one issue that is narrow about a community to bring us all in?
The fact that this is important. This entire meeting was called on an emergency basis so that I could receive a public dressing down for having asked questions on what is done with taxpayer funds.
No, specifically,
that is absurd. Go more to church and get your thoughts together, because it was not called to.
It wasn't. It was called so that the Community Foundation could explain what they do for the guys. We're getting.
So the bottom line is that's what it is. What I would like to, because now that I got that off my chest, please, Father and Tina, forgive me. I'd like to move because one of the things I ran for office is efficiency and how quickly we forgot. And I come from the school in business of you do incremental decisions, so we have time for the more controversial stuff. So I have spent a lot of time studying, because I do my homework before I get here, and I am prepared to move that we approve the $125,000 for the Community Foundation. Excuse me, I want to make the motion. I would like also in reflection of the great day on Thursday, the 4th of July, guys, thank you very much. I would also move the 4th of July parade at $30,000, and I will also move the Ask Club for our senior citizens program at $34,000. Now that is a motion.
I'm dealing with that there. All right. While the motion is the spirit behind the motion is appreciated, I do think that we need to have a little more discussion about the finances before we start that. I do appreciate it, and I
check with the lawyer.
Okay.
I check with the lawyer because I do my homework, and and we have the ability to make decisions. I really think let's just cure ourselves for 5 seconds of this controversy. I believe efficiency also gives us incremental decisions we can leave for more time. These are 3 issues that we have studied a lot, that are very good to our community, and if we get it off the podium, we can focus on very important things that are coming up, that we have a lot in the summer. So my motion is in order legally.
I understand.
If somebody would second it, we could probably move on.
A second for discussion purposes.
Let him die.
I withdraw my second.
We are in the council meeting.
I withdraw my second.
Don't be surprised.
Again, I think it's going to die for lack of a second at this time. I do appreciate the sentiment, and I certainly will support you when.
Well, you know,
bring it
I
back.
have to tell you,
But-
I'm disappointed because,
Well, I will
I
tell
mean,
you-
people expect us to decide. The only power we have as we get elected is to decide, and we have the tendency to postpone and postpone and postpone. It took us 7 months to name a park. I mean, I don't understand.
I would prefer that we have, well, guys.
Councilmember Segalola.
Guys.
Mr. London, you withdrew your second?
Councilmember London,
Okay.
can you proceed, please?
Well, you know where I stand.
And we appreciate it.
Ignacio, I really appreciate the fact that you do want to know where the money is spent. I welcome that. I think it's great. And I think that you're going it probably not exactly in the right way today. I think what sort of bothered me, not bothered me, you're certainly entitled to say anything you want, but you really implied that we had no authority or we had we weren't responsible for delegating or contracting with various groups, whether it be the Community Foundation, Chamber of Commerce, the soccer group, all these other people who we basically contract with. Either, obviously, some of them are not in writing, so they're done orally, to do things that the village should do, but they can do better, they can do cheaper, they can, and you know what? It really sounded like you were attacking these people. Maybe you weren't, but that was the feeling people got. I mean, you wonder why everybody got up in a huff and puff? And then when you brought up about transparency, about money and everything else, I think I told you it was 2013 or 2012, the first budget, and I think Mike remembers this, and I said that we pass this, that every quarter, all organizations that get money from the village would prepare sources and uses of funds, everything they did, and we would have it. And we wouldn't give them any more money if they didn't do it. So you'd say, well, what happened? What happened was, number one, we had no financial director. Yes, we had a person who didn't even know what the budget was. We had no bookkeeper. We had no idea. We had numbers that were all over the place. So where are the numbers? This poor manager had nothing to do with that. She's going to dig and dig and dig and have to reconstruct everything. But, you know, that's water over the dam. Those 32 or 42 or 67 or 7 million things you requested, basically, they really don't matter at this point in time. What matters today is going forward, what are we going to give the Community Foundation? What are we going to give to the Chamber of Commerce, to this club, to that, all these other things, and what are they going to do for us? How are we going to benefit? How are we going to spend wisely the village's money to get services which are going to be better delivered by them than by us and going forward? Now, you want to go on? And I brought that up at the meeting, and then you still, after that, went forward. When I'm talking about you saying, okay, then this is not transparent. We told you at the time that we really had a bookkeeping problem, we had an accounting problem, we had a finance problem, we had a management problem. And nobody followed through on doing these things.
Now, here's the thing. I agree with absolutely everything you just said.
That's unusual. Nobody else does.
And I can completely accept it. And if we establish, if one positive thing comes out of this meeting, this is how I think. One positive thing comes out of this meeting, and this is the only thing I care about. We're going to say this publicly. Before we got the new manager, the system was not working. The information that should have been there is not there. And I told the manager when I sent her the request saying, I'm pretty sure most, if not all of this, just doesn't exist. What do I want? If we're going to do something positive here, if we're going to bury the hatchet, do something to move forward, I'm all for it.
Good.
Now, I actually wrote down a list of proposals of how to turn this positive. Number one, we really, as a council, should come together, and we're not going to do this today. We need to adopt and implement written policies, procedures, and protocols for how we're going to receive requests for community money and judge them one by one. My understanding is that does not exist in writing. and I have asked the manager and the attorney for any copies of previous legal guides or opinions saying how it is that as a council we should evaluate these requests. We say it didn't exist. Let's do that and move forward. I'm fine with that.
Mr. Mayor, may I, before I leave, may I just say, forgive me for breaking your word. First of all, congratulations on your patience, tolerance, and coolness. Thank you so much for carrying. This is a very difficult meeting. And second of all, I think we owe a great gratitude that Ed London devoted the amount of time he had to us today. It's a very difficult day for him, and this is what makes our community great. Thank you, Ed.
I would ask that you just remain for 2 minutes.
I don't see any point.
I'm going to make a motion that I would like you to be here for. And, if you want to continue on your points,
Just one other point. Everything that's happened in the past, and Mr. Gross said it in his response that he emailed everyone. The foundation has the information in their offices. I accept that. Now, the second point I would like to make is the foundation, working with the manager, we just come up and do an accounting of the money that's been spent to date. That's it. Because it's obvious the village doesn't have it, and that's the problem. It needs to be in the village hands. I don't expect it to be in the foundation hands because they're the foundation. My just request is that needs to be public information.
There's no argument.
Well, hold on. Councilmember Petros, you're on
That's
the
all
line.
I'm requesting. That's it.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes. Okay, first of all, I apologize for not being there. I think this has been a very interesting and difficult meeting. I have appreciated everybody that's spoken. I particularly like what has been said in the last 5 minutes, which sounds like a move towards getting to a place of action and not, I hope, when I speak to you directly, Ignacio, I would ask that you think about what you're asking of your government to produce and whether it makes sense to devote the time and energy to come forward with all these record requests about things that have happened in the past, and that we have to put this in perspective. It sounds like you understand the benefit that this foundation has provided to our community and will hopefully continue to provide to our community. And when you spoke about wanting transparency, I can tell you in the last meeting, I heard those words, but I also heard a tone that had a lot of accusations in it. And I would ask you to go back and listen to what you said last time again and listen to your tone. Because I think if you had changed your tone and you had tightened the message, you may not have gotten so many people so upset, because I understand your desire for transparency. But I also understand that we have a community that's moving, and we have people moving in 1,000 different directions. And sometimes everything doesn't get done exactly how we want it to be done, but we have to see the bigger picture. And I think that is one of the messages that also needs to move forward for us as a council, is that we need to, number one, trust each other and trust some of these organizations that have existed before we sat up here, and understand their value in our community and work collectively to continue to improve documentation and transparency, but not at the expense of all the other things we want to do in our community. So I hope that we can come together as a group of 7. I hope that maybe you could consider dropping some of these requests that you've made and focus on the things that you want to have happen moving forward. So thank you for the time to speak.
Katie,
Katie,
I wish you had.
I'm going to make a motion.
Wait, I wish you had been here. I agree with absolutely everything you said.
Excellent.
I am absolutely willing to drop everything that has been done before the last 5 minutes of this meeting in order to move forward positively. I am willing to work with this council to do anything we can to make this a better village and to have clear and more transparent government. And for the umpteenth time, even if no one believes me, I sincerely apologize for the tone of my voice at the meeting 2 weeks ago. I had no intention, and I repeat this to you again, Melissa, I had no intention of insulting anyone. My concerns are, I wish I had summed them up as well as Ed did 5 minutes ago. Okay. So if it's up to me, I'm willing to drop everything and we move forward. Good. It's in your hands.
All right, I'd like to make a quick motion.
Mike?
Yes, Katie? Allison, sorry.
Thank you for that.
Apologize.
And again, I also, like Katie, am very sorry that I couldn't be there tonight. But I have an idea that perhaps can help all of us to move forward, and I'm sure this would happen otherwise, but perhaps it would be good to take a vote. I'd like to make a motion to have the council direct the manager to put systems in place for including the quarterly reports to council, reports from all outside recipients of village funds.
We've already done
and additionally, to continue the process. I know she's already started, but I'd like to put it in this motion to continue putting in place contracts with everyone, not only the foundation, but also I know there are some other vendors that we use whose contracts have expired, and I know she's working through them, but I would like to include that here. And I would hope that through doing this, we can avoid having this situation happen again with any organization in our community, and that we can all then move forward together and be the Key Biscayne that I know that we are.
I will second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carries.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion as well. I want to make a motion for a vote of confidence. I think I've got the votes up here. A vote of confidence in the foundation and its executive director, Melissa White, in all of its relationships with the government of the Village of Key Biscayne.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Call the roll.
Sorry, no.
We got a
discussion. Anybody want to discuss?
Anybody?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I want to
Motion
say
carries.
aye.
Thank you.
For the record.
The only disappointment that I have is that the best way to demonstrate that trust is to a voter for their budget.
I know, I hear you. I understand. All right, we have one more item.
Yes.
Good night. Michael, ending this item before you go to the next one.
What? We got four.
I think basically we're buried the hatchet. We've all aired our concerns. He's basically let us understand where he's coming from. We let him know where we're coming from. I think now we're probably on the same page, and I think we can go forward together and make this a great village, which is a great village, and make it even a better village.
As I said, I'm willing to drop everything that's happened before this meeting, including this wonderful meeting that I was just a part of, and I'm willing to move forward. Up to you guys.
No, we need to take a vote on a resolution.
A resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida,
Gotta stay for
confirming
2
the
minutes.
village's
2 minutes,
ability
I
to
swear.
fund and support the permitting, design, construction, and monitoring of the village's beach renourishment project, providing for an effective date.
Moved. Second.
Thank you.
Discussion, okay, we're good. It's basically, it's standard. We have to do it every year. This is how we fund and support the permitting, design, and construction of the village's beach renourishment project.
It's authorization for a grant.
Authorization for a grant.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Boom. Motion to adjourn.
Second.